Hello everyone! We are back with another round of Great Ace Attorney. We are on the final case, we are on the second case of the first game. Sholmes is here, and we're gonna solve the mystery of my friend and mentor's murder. It's gonna be crazy. No, we're on the last case. We're here, we're doing good and all that stuff. Hey, Captain Chips, how you doing? Bonsoir. And hey, Zerman, it's good to see you too. Let it be known, Captain Chips, folks are away in Delaware tomorrow. The day of the eating out, the days of the eating outs has arrived yet again. Just to let you know. And hey, Minim, what's up? How you doing? Good to see ya. Ahoy! I gotta say, everyone, that's a substantial heap of clothes on the floor. Isn't that crazy? I don't know if you heard me, Captain Chips, but the day of the eating out, Thursday then or nah? Sure. What's today, Tuesday? Thursday. An overcoat, shirts, a dressing gown. I'm doing good, by the way. I survived my dentist appointment. I survived. I'm here. I'm alive, I think. And we're all good. An overcoat, shirts, a dressing gown, momohiki, wore trousers, a Tenzin robe, a haramaki waistband, clearly the clothing of a Japanese man. And clearly, Japanese men are unaccustomed to the culture of the wardrobe. Looks to me as if they've been thrown in a heap like that in some kind of hurry. Something of a hurry. Indeed. You could help yourself to a Japanese man's shirt, perhaps. I'm sure you made the mention of packing too few. Very likely drawn in one of Seishiro's shirts. Now I'll just buy any extras I need, I think. We are here, guys. We're examining this room, and we're going to find out who murdered the one dude. I'm glad you're doing good too, Minim. Or I hope you're doing good. Hope everyone's doing good. Plenty of reading material to keep passengers occupied on the long sea voyages. I found the mixture of classic literature and easy reading to be most satisfactory, I must say. Tisk, whoever stocked this bookcase was a hopeless heretic. There's no copy of the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, my dear fellows. I'm afraid it's just me, but no, you're quite right. More blasphemous than overlooking the Bible. Ouch. I should leave a copy behind. I just happen to have one with me. You're a true missionary of the Church of the Great Detectives, aren't you? Did I check this yet? Yeah, I did. The wall is slightly different color just here. Do you see? Indeed, what you have observed arises when a frame that's been hanging for some time is removed. Perhaps your friend is an art thief. Now there's a bold deduction worthy of a great detective, I'm sure. He may very well be the elusive thief who has been plaguing France's galleries of late. I think perhaps we should focus our attentions elsewhere, Sholmes, don't you? That's outline on the wall. I feel as though I might have spotted something of a similar shape and size elsewhere. Uh-oh. You are still here? Able Seaman Stroganov. Hello again. I was beginning to think you'd never materialize. You are waiting for me? Of course. I was expecting you to burst in with a hearty Russian profanity far sooner. I was in trouble with Captain because of trick you played before. Poor innocent chicken. It's all your fault. Ship is leaving port soon. Get off, now. Of course, we shall disembark presently, my dear fellow. But first, there is something that must be done. What are you talking about? Why, naturally, the debunking of your deceit and the bearing of the truth. Kakoi? I'm afraid I see through your lies. For one thing, Mr. Jigoku has not yet left this vessel at all. Ah! And for another, my dear Seaman Stroganov, you know exactly where the man is, even as we speak, don't you? How can you? Good gracious, Sholmes, you mean you've worked it out? All of it? It's really been too long, hasn't it, old friend? 10 years, no less. So, would you care to join me for a dance of my innovative logic and reasoning? Nothing would please me more. What is this? We have but minutes until the vessel puts to sea. No games now. Well, it's that time again. Time is of the essence. Mr. Stroganoff, allow me to remind you of your earlier claim. You told us that Jigoku left the ship some 2 hours ago. That is what I said. Sadly, that was a rather clumsy lie. You see, there is something in this room that quite clearly contradicts it. What? Yes, of course. I see you've noted it too, Mikotoba. Then please do take the lead. Let's save the game. What in the cabin shows the impossibility Jigoku having disembarked? Let's see what the last 3 years have done to your observational skills then, Mikotoba. It's been 10 years since we last did this, Sholmes, not 3. Or 10 years. Why, of course it has, quite. Now, all the clues are here in this cabin for your eyes to see. But as I always say, you must not merely look, but observe, and the answers become clear. So, impress me. Alright, I'm gonna save one more time. So we're not skipping over too much dialogue if I get it wrong. Think I can manage that. Alright. This thing, maybe? I can't, like, examine it. Maybe this?
Take that!
Nope. Mikotoba, no games now were my words, were they not? That's part of it, but there's something better. The other wall then, here.
Take that!
Okay, what is it? I am so confused. It's on the left side of the screen. Alright, we have this. Is it this? The speaking tube? I'll just ask, is it the speaking tube? Glass of ice water? How?
Take that!
How even is it the ice containing that? Tap dancer? Perhaps you should have cleared away that glass. How curious that the ice should have melted despite it being abandoned 2 hours ago. It would appear that the man was here in this very cabin until moments before our arrival. With this well-chilled glass in hand, get your mind off the refreshments, Sholmes. One might even conclude that somebody informed him of our boarding. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Stroganoff? But why would Seishiro run from us? Before we consider that question, allow me to confirm one small matter. Would I be correct in saying that these first-class cabins of the SS Grouse are the same ones which you and Mr. Jigoku were accommodated on your voyage from Japan? That's right, they are. I was in the cabin next door and Seishiro was, yes. 50 days in this very cabin during our voyages, as I suspected, for you see, there are traces in this cabin of a dark secret that Mr. Jigoku had to hide. What traces? I know nothing about this. This is news to you, is it, Mr. Stroganoff? Sholmes, what exactly are you getting at? As I said, there are traces in this cabin of some nefarious activity, something that appears out of place when I'm quite sure won't have escaped your notice. Something out of place in here. That's the key to this, Mikotoba. The remnants of the dark deed that took place in here are being masked by something quite I must say I didn't foresee ever doing this dance of deduction with you again, Mikotoba. No, quite, but life is full of unexpected twists and turns, as we well know. Now then, let's see if I can uncover the truth here. Now the rules of passage. Yes, you have the floor, my dear fellow. Now it's this.
Take that!
Yay! It's the rules of passage in this frame here. They're obviously out of place. The way they're hanging crooked on the wall, as if they were put there in a hurry. Yes, as I'm sure you've already concluded. The frame was originally over here. The shape and size are a perfect match. Duh, you are right. When did frame move? Hardly the most observant of crewmen are you, Mr. Stroganoff. I would think your captain is quite justified in having his reservations about your reliability. Feat reveal at 3K followers. Mods. Can someone VIP Zerman for me, please? Grrr. Oh dear, that really seemed to touch a nerve. So, Mikatoba, how did you feel that frame off the wall? Sadly, I don't think I can do that, Zerman. That'd be a bad idea. It might lead to some questionable chat members entering chat. That looks like a bullet hole. What? Who has been shooting walls? I see. The projectile has been removed. Clearly the careful occupant of this room had already disposed of it. Now then, Mr. Stroganoff. Ugh. I have the distinct impression that you're attempting to shield said occupant. I don't know what you are talking about. Why would I try to protect Eastern Stranger? Ah, so we're talking about the same man, I see. Good. Ugh. I'm sure we can get to the bottom of this in no time, aren't you? Because there's some very noteworthy evidence that explains the reason why you're lying for the man. Yes, you've been told to keep up this pretense as clearly as shown by... We don't want to approach this one, Sholmes, or I don't know how. Ah, my dear Mikatoba, simply keep first principles in mind. Study your subject from every angle, and I'm quite sure that you'll see it. In fact, I'll put a wager on it. So I'm gonna glare at the fellow from all sides? Well, I could certainly do that. Oh, crap, I forgot to save. I'll just ask, is it this, Captain Chips? I'll only ask because I forgot to save it. It is? Okay, good.
Take that!
Good eye. Tappity tappity tap. It's almost too obvious for words. Quite. The universal language of the world. Money! Ah. And I'd wager that the Eastern fellow in question is Seishiro Jigoku. Yes. Gah! So, I presume you realize what this means. There are clear signs that a crime has been committed in this cabin, and the way you're going, sir, you'll find yourself accused of being an accomplice. But... I believe you know, Mr. Stroganoff. You know where Mr. Jigoku is hiding at this precise moment in time. As always, Mikatoba, in the matters of deduction, the furtive glance is your unfaltering ally. Yes, I think you're onto something there, Sholmes. You found the chink in this burly fellow's armor. We only need to follow the man's gaze to know where our prey is hiding. The slightest flicker of the pupils, a minute delayed blink. Nothing escapes my attention, even that which is barely perceptible. You could hardly call this barely perceptible, Sholmes. The man's turned his entire head. Not exactly what you describe as a furtive glance, is it? It's almost too obvious. We shall let you tapping shoes decide, my dear fellow. I do not remember which direction he was looking, so... wish me luck. Down. Is it the trunk, Captain Chips? Is it the trunk? Because that's what it looks like he's looking, or just nothing. It's the trunk.
Take that!
Good. You turned immediately to look at this large trunk, didn't you? Ah! The truth is, Seishiro Jigoku was unable to hide from the ship in time, and is, at this very moment, doing his best to stifle his breath inside this trunk. If he still has a breath to take, I fear he may be running dangerously low on air. I imagine he didn't count on us making a nuisance of ourselves for quite so long. I think it would be even everyone's best interest for us to open the trunk as quickly as possible. But how can we? Are you forgetting about the combination lock? We don't know the 7-digit code. The combination lock can't be opened from inside the trunk. Therefore, there must have been an arrangement for somebody to open it after our departure. Of course. In short, before Jigoku hid himself inside that trunk, he must have told somebody the 7-digit number for the lock. And I'm sure you can confirm, Mr. Stroganoff. Gulp. No, I know nothing about combination code. Don't move a muscle, my good seaman. Huh? Now, Mikotoba, would you do the honors of and open the trunk? Let me save the game. I'm assuming his arm does not actually say Sholmes. How on earth do you expect me? It's a 7-digit number, remember. Quickly now, we have little time. Okay, I didn't see the wording. Okay. 5, 2, 3. One thing I don't like in games, big, long digit codes that I need to remember. Forget it. I tune out faster than a, I don't know.
Take that!
Click. That did it. It's open. You had to meddle, didn't you? There he is. Well, Eugen, you found me now. That's gotta be a really tight fit. Ouch. Hey, Foursquare. And, yep, how you doing today? You are sus? Don't be sus. Be sus on Saturday. But it's good to see you. I hope you're doing good. You know what's weird, Foursquare? I was driving home from the dentist today, and I saw a sign with your username on it. It was the weirdest thing. It said like Foursquare something or other. But so maybe you own a business where I am. It's crazy. I was really hoping beyond hope not to find you here, you know. But you're not entirely unsurprised, I take it? No, quite. I just wish it were some other way. You are everywhere. You own businesses everywhere. Well, are you ever going to introduce me? Ah, your reputation precedes you, Mr. Sholmes. I've read stories of many of your exploits. Excuse my manners, Miss Sholmes. This is Mr. Jigoku, my old friend and traveling companion. The devil is in the details, Mikotoba. I believe you meant to say your old friend and traveling companion, who made the cowardly decision to flee the country without a word to anyone when things turned sour. I see my reputation precedes me as well. What an honor. Well, Seishiro, are you going to explain all this? You know it all by now, I imagine. What you didn't know, of course, is that 3 days ago, on the night before our arrival in Britain, an attempt was made on my life here and on this very ship by the Reaper of the Bailey? Yes, I've since heard. Because you were once prosecuted by the Reaper, weren't you? 10 years ago now, mind. And I had no idea at the time what a dangerous individual he was. Anyway, when we arrived in London to find the symposium was postponed until goodness knows when. Foursquare is a game. Yep. If you're near a skiing resort, that would make sense. No, I was nowhere near a skiing resort. Some, like, housing or something like that. I don't know. It became all too apparent to me that I might very well be targeted again. She decided to flee the capital without saying a word to me about it. I'm afraid so, yes. Of course I realize now that I really ought to have confided in you. It's somewhat surprising, I must say. What is? Well, first-class cabins aboard luxury steamships are in very short supply. It's more than a little hard to believe that this one just happened to be available. So says the protagonist of some colorful short stories. Well, I don't care for your opinion. The cabin did just happen to be available, so I purchased a ticket, and here I am. I've seen for myself the obvious remnants of that incident in this cabin. You have an idea? What's your idea, Zerman? Let's hear it. So you already purchased your return ticket before we even docked in Dover, had you? To prevent anyone else taking this cabin and seeing the evidence, is that it? Eugen, I have nothing to say to you. Well, in a mere 5 minutes, this ship will set off on its onward voyage and not make port again until Italy. My opinion, how about a hairline reveal at 3K followers? Ooh, I'm lucky that I'm nowhere near 3K followers right now. Maybe not, Zerman. Maybe definitely not. You did certainly say the word idea there. Luckily, you also never said if it was a good or a bad idea. I'm afraid we must insist that you disembark with us at once. You have no jurisdiction over my movements. We have this, Seishiro. Take it. But yeah, my opinion on that is kind of rough, because I don't have a face cam, by the way. I should have mentioned that. I have no face cam, Zerman, and no way to know what a good one is. What is it? It's a subpoena from the Old Bailey. You're a man of the law. You know what the ramifications of ignoring a document like this from the British courts would be. You're playing Final Fantasy IX soon? Ooh. Oh, you made me say that. No, I'm not. I wish I was, but there's a lot of games coming out first. You came prepared then, Eugen. Come on, let's go. One moment. What is it, Sholmes? Inside Mr. Jigoku's trunk. I found this rather fascinating trinket. What is that, Seishiro? I can't help you, I'm afraid. Some small component from something. But what? I have no idea. By the look on his face, I think he genuinely doesn't know. Well, let us pocket it as a small souvenir of our brief sojourn in France. The court record that doesn't exist. Well, young Naruhodo, I think we've done as much as we can, I'm afraid. The rest will be on your shoulders of you and your assistant. (12:10 p.m.) We still got a long day ahead of us, guys. Kazuma Asogi, I know you, and I know you wouldn't lie, but still, there's no doubt that you're holding something back. You know more than you're saying. During the past 30 minutes while this court was adjourned, all possible efforts were expended. But sadly, Mr. Jigoku's whereabouts could not be ascertained. You must accept this unfortunate conclusion, that the Reaper has already done the deed. There's no sense in wasting any more of the court's time. The prosecution calls for an immediate verdict.
Objection!
No, the trial cannot end now. You're a Japanese man, Ryunosuke. You should know when to lay low your sword. Lay down your sword. And you should know never to presume when the battle is won. The court has already been presented with all the evidence and heard all relevant testimony, and there can only be one conclusion, that the accused is guilty. All relevant testimony? Far from it. There's still a crucial witness from whom the court is yet to hear a single word of testimony. In that case, call your witness to the stand at once, counsel. Yes, my lord. Tomorrow, if possible. The witness is already on his way, and scheduled to arrive tomorrow. Who on earth is this crucial witness? Seishiro Jigoku, the very man allegedly murdered by the Reaper. Judge Jigoku? You found him? Yes, sawed. I sawed. But the investigations of every policing resource in the capital suggest that Jigoku is already dead. How in the name of God did you find the man? He was located in France during the recess at the port of Dunkirk. Thanks to one of Mr. Herlock Sholmes' famous deductions. Herlock Sholmes. Inspector Gregson almost certainly met with Mr. Jigoku on the night of his death, because along with Prosecutor Asogi, Gregson was on a mission to assassinate the man. So is the judge the murderer then? Is that where we're going? Is that where we're going? Which means that Seishiro Jigoku is the sole witness who can clarify exactly what happened aboard the SS Gross on the 31st of October. Well, it would appear that it's too soon to move to adjudication at this point. The prosecution concurs. The court must hear Mr. Jigoku's testimony. No judgment shall be passed until all testimony has been considered. In that case, I hereby call the end of today's proceedings. Court will reconvene at the same hour tomorrow. No objections from either side. No, my lord. No objections, my lord. We live to fight another day. By the skin of our teeth. Just like I survived today by the skin of my own teeth. Because I was at the dentist. I went to the mall today too and got a haircut. And it's still sad that FYE is still gone. And like half the mall is just closed. Hopefully it comes back in some way, but it's rough, bruh. The unexpected halt of proceedings sent a clamor around the courtroom, but outside the Bailey, where Londoners knew nothing of the secret trial within, it was a typical still night. Then, at a little past 8 o'clock that evening, Mr. Sholmes and his partner returned to Baker Street. We have returned, my dear fellows. Welcome back to Britain, and thank you for your timely help. Think nothing of it. I believe you had an even more wearing day than I, Mikotoba. Mikotoba and I. No, you could say that. We were on the brink of defeat in court earlier. So this prosecutor, Asogi, had you on the ropes, did he? And he's your best friend, you say? Well, yeah. He's not really the man I knew in Japan anymore. Kazuma's changed. Oh, Mr. Naruhodo. I mean, it's incredible to think that he'd even entertain the idea of acting as the Reaper's assassin. Well, nevertheless, you must introduce me. After all, I've only ever met the young man as a corpse. When all this started, almost a year ago now. Mr. Sholmes still hadn't told us the truth about what really happened back then, about the motivation for what himself described as a great detective's lie. Now then, I must say, it's really quite a journey all the way to France. Well, it is another country, Mr. Sholmes. So, what news of Judge Jigoku? We took him to Scotland Yard. The investigating detectives there have a lot of questions for the man. Poor Professor Mikotoba. This must be quite a shock for him. You're back? Welcome back, Captain Chips. Yes, I picked this up at the telegraph office on our way home. What is it? Surely you haven't forgotten already. I put upon you for the matter only yesterday. Okay, this stuff is still here. I can investigate this. You see the little things all over the place, don't you? It's the part of the top of the pocket watch that you twist to set the time, isn't it? It's called the crown, I believe. A watch would be quite useless without one. The crown? Like what sits on top of a monarch's head? That's a very grand name for such a tiny part. But actually, yes, Mr. Naruhodo? If this is a crown, I have a feeling I have seen a monarch around here somewhere with a very bare head. If by monarch you mean pocket watch, then I'm quite sure you have. Okay, does that mean I have a watch somewhere? I think we examined all that. It's this. What do you think, Mr. Sato? I feel sure I know exactly what will fit here. Really? I was just thinking precisely the same thing. We're about to see that the little round component is actually part of Inspector Gregson's broken pocket watch. But really? I was just thinking precisely that too. A perfect fit. I knew it. Alright, perhaps you knew it. I'll make a note of this new information at once. Wow, guys. We're learning things, see? We learn the secrets. You put upon me, Sholmes. I had to fill out your telegram to Japan and foot the bill as well. Oh, you've had a reply already? What was so urgent, though, Mr. Sholmes? Such matters can wait until later. I'm far too hungry for an involved conversation at present. Well, that's good news, because supper is ready, everyone! Ah, and what a feast it is. If I were none the wiser, I think the trial were won already. Roast beef, kippers, stew, steak, and kidney pie, Yorkshire pudding. Tomorrow could be a very long day, so eat up! In that case, I think I'll seat myself just here. This place appears to be the only one set with a helping of pheasant as well. Oh, sorry, Hurley, not there. Huh? Why ever not? Are we in set places this evening? Yes, and this place is for Susie's daddy. For me? That's right. I made it especially for you, Professor Miki. I see. Well, that's terribly kind of you. It's a shame, really. What do you mean? Well, for a brief moment, I believed it. That Susie and I were half-sisters, I mean. Oh! Iris, do you mean... Yes, I know now. I overheard yesterday. I secretly listened into the conversation you had. After I tricked you all into thinking I'd left. What? Uh-oh. The misunderstanding arose because of that autopsy report from 10 years ago. But actually, it turned out that neither Dr. Wilson nor Professor Mikotoba are Iris's father. Great. Who is then? Yes, about that, Iris. You know, I know. You can't tell me at the moment. Oh, Iris. The pheasant is by the way of an apology. I'm sorry for eavesdropping. Oh, no, that's quite alright. Then why don't I get an apologetic pheasant? So just who is Iris's father? Suppose that's not something we'll be finding out today. But probably tomorrow. So then, let us dine, while our largely pheasant-less plates are still piping hot. A fine idea, Sholmes. It all looks absolutely delicious. Eat as much as you like. There are always seconds. This could be our last chance to ask questions before tomorrow's trial. About that telegram from Japan, and about Kazuma. I can't let this opportunity slip away. Alright, well, here we go. Mr. Sholmes, what are you doing? Surely it's abundantly clear that I wasn't brooding over Mikotoba's refusal to share his pheasant with me. Nevertheless, I felt the need to withdraw from this social circle for a while. I look on with hungry eyes. Ah. Sorry, Hurley, but I cooked that pheasant especially for Susie's daddy! Even though I've played the role of father to you for far longer. Mr. Sholmes, could I discuss some things with you? Certainly, my dear fellow. I find myself in quite the mood for a spell of conversation. No doubt, you're hungry to learn more of my deep love of game. I can probably contain my curiosity on that one. You needn't look at me in that fashion. In what fashion? It seems that before we discuss the pheasant, we have some rather unpleasant matters to discuss. Great. So, what was in the telegram you received back from Japan then? Ah, this. I think my lucky stars had arrived in time. Record found as indicated. Duplicate follows. K. Asogi, A. Shin, T. Gregson, J. Wilson. What? Those 4 names! We've come across that exact same list before. They came up in that unforgettable case last spring. Well, at the end of it. What appeared to be a simple case of aggravated murder turned out to be a masking monumental intrigue. A plot that involved the sale of British governmental secrets to foreign states. Exposing the means by which those secrets were being leaked, we deciphered a fragment of the message. K. Asogi, A. Shin, T. Gregson, J. Wilson. We didn't find the names out until the case was over, and we never did get to the bottom of what they meant. All we knew was that the information had been sent by somebody in the British government to somebody in Japan. So, why are the names coming up again now? Yes, where did the sender of your telegram discover them, Mr. Sholmes? I have here the message I had wired yesterday. Allow me to read it to you. Entered Judge Jigoku's office undetected and investigate telegram records. Expect to find communication from Britain dated 1 year ago. List of 4 names. Need by tomorrow. Naruhodo. I sent it to a detective I know who specializes in clandestine missions of this nature. You asked Inspector Hosanaga to undertake such an onerous task for you? And in my name? I wonder what guise he opted for this time. My dear fellows, it was a matter of great urgency, you understand. Anyway, the list of names we found in Seishiro's office, as Sholmes predicted. So you mean that mysterious collection of names that was sent from Britain to Japan was... It was sent to Judge Jigoku. He was the intended recipient. I don't believe it. But that doesn't answer the question of what the list of names actually signifies. I did formulate a hypothesis about that. Without a shred of evidence, I couldn't possibly have shared it. Mr. Sholmes looks deadly serious for once. Oh boy. That tragedy we had to go through on the SS Buria. It was all for nothing. Kazuma wasn't dead at all. That's what I'm saying. We were completely taken in by the lie you told us, your great detective's lie. I took no pleasure in deceiving you. However, at the time, all that concerned me was preventing the young man's study tour from taking place, whatever the cost. What? I capitalized on the events that transpired to see that he was sent back to Japan. His remains, you mean? Precisely, Miss Susato. And then, I made sure that somebody else was sent to Britain in his stead. Oh my, you mean... The arrangement between our 2 countries was already in place. 1 university student lawyer and 1 judicial assistant to be accommodated on a study tour. In other words, by arranging for someone else to fill the place originally intended for Mr. Asogi, I would successfully prevent the man from arriving on our shores for several years at least. Wait, do you mean to say that was all in the aid of stopping Kazuma coming to Britain? That's why you... Think back, Mr. Naruhodo. Was there not somebody who quite casually urged you to continue on the voyage to England? The terms of this study tour were negotiated by the Department of Justice in both Great Britain and Japan. In the light of Mr. Asogi's unfortunate death, I'm afraid the study tour can no longer go ahead. My dear fellows, the majority of problems have an extremely simple solution, you know. All you require is one lawyer, and the study tour can continue, surely. But there's no one else with the necessary qualifications, Mr. Sholmes. We know of no other lawyer. The voyage to London still promises a good month of time. Ample opportunity, I would say, to find yourselves another suitable lawyer. So, you manipulated me? I've often remarked on the extraordinary lengths to which friendship will drive a man. I was quite sure that you would rise to the challenge for your late friend. I don't believe it. But if it was all contrived, I mean, what happened when it was treated by the authorities as murder? A woman was mistakenly arrested as the perpetrator. What do you suppose became of her? Naturally, I didn't allow the misapprehension to have any serious repercussions. I subsequently explained everything and assisted the unfortunate soul in finding the foreign refuge she sought. I seem to remember Miss Susato and I had some rather strong words for her. Well, she was certainly not devoid of all guilt. She deserved every word, I'm sure. I wonder if she made it to America, then. You know, America? I'm afraid I simply cannot comprehend it. Why would you go to such lengths, Mr. Sholmes? Why were you so determined to stop Kazuma-sama from reaching Britain? The truth is, 12 months ago, there was already a very tangible omen of the impending tragedy, you see. Oh! An omen that, at this very moment in time, is close at hand. An omen of all these tragic events that already existed a year ago is close at hand? We need to find out exactly what Mr. Sholmes knows. Does that mean we need to present? Whoops! I'm just checking things, don't mind me. Okay. Time to present everything, guys. There was no room for doubt with your instructions in this telegram, Mr. Sholmes. You were very clear that it was Judge Jigoku's office that should be searched, so you obviously knew that's where the list of names would be found. K. Asogi, A. Shin, T. Gregson, J. Wilson. We only learnt of those 4 names just over 6 months ago now, and only because they appeared as part of the top secret government communications that were leaked. That's true, yes. But at the time, you were unaware of the background. You see, those 4 names were wired to Japan. Around 6 months before that, approximately this time last year, in fact, when you were both still in Japan. It really would be hypocrisy on my part to reprove others for intercepting state secrets, because after all, I'm perpetually eavesdropping on communications between the British and Japanese governments. You're perpetually doing what? How? Never mind the details, but you should know. No secret is safe from Herlock Sholmes when he has designs on knowing it. Oh my, Mr. Sholmes, what a fabulous line! Now, 1 month after that list of 4 names was wired to the recipient Jigoku in Japan, Dr. John H. Wilson was murdered. As soon as I learned of this incident, a hypothesis rapidly took shape in my mind. As it turned out, I was partly correct and partly mistaken. Nevertheless, it was the beginning of all the tragic events that were to follow. Mr. Sholmes, please, tell us all you know. Tell us about these 4 names and the tragedy to which they're all somehow connected. As I said, when I learnt of Dr. Wilson's murder in Japan, my mind immediately turned to those 4 names, because you see, there was someone else on the list, whom I believed to be recently deceased. What? Who? A. Shin, as as it was transcribed in Japanese script. In actual fact, Mr. Asashin. That was a familiar name to me. She was a professional killer, well known among London's unsavory classes. Oh, I see. The court? Oh, the court. There, I hope you're happy. I hope that was worth it, Minim. Hope I said it goodly. But she had completely vanished from existence several months before Wilson's murder. So I came to the logical conclusion that she had herself been killed, and accordingly I became fearful for the lives of the remaining 2 persons on the list. Kei Asogi and T. Gregson. Owing to our proximity, I decided to take measures to protect Gregson myself, but I determined it would be safest if young Asogi were to stay away from Britain. Ah, so that's why you went to such lengths to prevent his study tour from going ahead. Exactly. So you already knew who Kazuma-sama was, Mr. Sholmes? Oh yes, Sholmes and I have exchanged correspondence for years. I recounted many tales about Asogi to him in my letters, and the news of Dr. Wilson's death, of course. So, Dr. Wilson is dead then? I didn't know. Oh, Iris. I know he wasn't my daddy, but still. That's very sad.
Thank you, he was reading Ace earlier and wanted to know the correct way to say court.
Gotcha. It's court. I'm so sorry, Iris. We know the significance of the name, obviously, but we just couldn't bring ourselves to tell you. No. But when you just told us, Mr. Sholmes, doesn't completely tie in with the facts. There's one big hole in your hypothesis. A big hole, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, you mean about Asashin, I presume. Oh, of course. Exactly. She wasn't killed, was she? She was in Japan, posing as a visiting student under the assumed name of Giselle Brett. I'm glad you're keeping up, my dear fellow, but I only became aware of that fact 2 days ago, in the foyer of the Great Waterloo Hotel. Ah! And upon hearing that startling revelation, the hypothesis that I'd formed surrounding these 4 names was completely turned topsy. What? Topsy? Topsy-turvy? What do you mean when you say your hypothesis was turned topsy, Mr. Sholmes? I had believed all 4 names on the list to be the names of victims. However, I was mistaken. Very much so. Asashin was a killer. So this telegram is a list of both victims and killers, is it? Indeed, and it would seem that Miss Shin was dispatched from Britain with the sole intention of dispatching Dr. Wilson. Her visiting student status being merely a front. Which would of course explain why no known motive could be determined for her actions. So the real reason Dr. Wilson was killed by Asashin is because he was the target of an assassination. And forearmed with that knowledge, fresh consideration of this telegram puts the list in a very different perspective. What do you mean? Well, does it not strike you there is another among the 4 who subsequently became the visiting student? Wait, you mean... But of course, a name you know only too well. You mean Kazuma? Oh, he did say in court earlier today. Yes, on 31st October, I accompanied Inspector Gregson to Dunkirk in order to carry out a mission. And the mission was the assassination of the Mark. Young Mr. Asogi accompanied that mission a year ago now. Surely not. In conclusion, this document is a contract of sorts, an international agreement, one might say, detailing an assassin exchange. An assassin exchange? How could Kasuma possibly have gotten involved in something like that? Let's assume that we have 2 parties, each wishing to dispose of a distinct individual. These 2 parties then make a contract to swap their respective assassination targets. That would then be an assassin exchange. So to begin with, the British assassin is dispatched as a visiting student to Japan, where she kills her target. And then the Japanese assassin is dispatched as a visiting student to Britain in order to eliminate his target. That certainly does sound like an exchange. But what on earth is the point? Don't forget, Naruhodo, that the British assassin at least escaped conviction, thanks to diplomatic immunity afforded by consular jurisdiction. Oh, yes! Such jurisdiction could be null and void under the terms of the new treaty between our two countries. So the fact that it was brought into play suggests intervention at the very highest levels. The highest levels? These murders were two sides of the same coin, linked not by a common motive, but by contractual agreement. As such, they appeared utterly unrelatable, yet in truth the assassins were complicit in one singular devilish scheme. That dissociation and the safeguard of diplomatic immunity were, I believe, the motivation behind this plot. Wait a minute, Cholmes. If the telegram really is describing the exchange of assassins at your suggestion, it would mean that the Japanese killer's target was never Seishiro Jigoku at all. It would mean Asoki's target was actually Inspector Gregson. What? Kazuma was here for Gregson? So Judge Jigoku wasn't actually the mark. Yes, that's exactly what it would mean. I hold myself as personally responsible for failing to keep the inspector safe. Mr. Sholmes. I told him of my fears and implored him to seek a transfer to an overseas position, obviously, with the young pickpocket in tow. Yes, Gina. Come to think of it, Inspector Gregson did mention that to us at the Great Exhibition, that he'd be transferring to the Paris police and taking Gina with him. But without informing me, he engaged in one last assignment, it seems, and sadly, it turned out to be his very last. This is too much to take in. Yeah, I'll say. Alright, everyone, that's quite enough of all that serious talk for one day. Isn't it, Hurley? I mean, look at the time. Ah, quite right, Iris. We must conclude our preparations for tomorrow. What preparations? Well, I think I should make my way back into my hotel room now. This has certainly been a night to remember. It is. A little bit sad, though. I mean, I like the idea of you being my daddy. Because then, Susie would have been my big sister. I'm sorry, Iris. I know, Iris. I was thinking quite the same thing. Go now. Bye, Minim. See you tomorrow, hopefully. I'll be live tomorrow morning, don't you worry. Were you? But if somebody like me would be worthy? But yeah, take care. Be well. I would be delighted to become your sister. What? Really? Oh yes, without question. So, you'll teach me all the ways you know to throw Runo to the floor? Yes, of course. It would be my pleasure. You didn't have to agree quite so readily. Oh, but wait a minute. If Susie's going to be my big sister, you could be my big brother if you want, Runo. Huh? I mean, yes, of course. If you'll have me, I'll gladly be your I'll be your brother. Well done, Iris. We must always be mindful of feelings. I've raised you so well. Because being sensitive is your strong suit, naturally. Right, I'm going to work extra hard for tomorrow now, because it's for my big brother and sister. What is all that about preparing for tomorrow? Preparing what? Hee. You'll just have to wait and see. Oh. Good luck in court tomorrow. I'm expecting a sterling performance. I'll do my very best, of course. Well... So the overnight break in the trial's proceedings became a crucial turning point, exposing new truths while posing new conundrums. That list of 4 names on the telegram in Judge Jigoku's office, and the extraordinary assassination plot in which my best friend had somehow became involved. I felt as though I had been plunged into an even greater darkness all of a sudden, but at the same time, I felt sure I would see the light again soon. Because I was lucky enough to have the most wonderful family in the world standing steadfastly behind me. That's nice. To be continued. To be continued tomorrow? No. 4th of November. Can we get to November 11th, guys? Come on. Get to November 11th. Before we begin today, I have a brief announcement. As with the closed trial 10 years ago, some astonishing facts have come to light in these proceedings. The revelation that the well-known Reaper is actually an organization illegally executing its own brand of justice, and the discovery that a respected yard inspector was at its heart until he himself perished in an assassination plot. Well, I say to all members of the judiciary here present on this occasion that we will stop at nothing to uncover the whole truth behind these disturbing findings. Counsels, you will undertake the trial with the resolve to pursue the truth to the bitter end. Resolve, yes, that's my intention. My lord, if I may inquire, the defendant may speak. On what grounds is Kazuma Asogi permitted to continue in his role as prosecutor? He has admitted to colluding with the victim in a plot as to assassinate an innocent man. He shouldn't be enjoying the privilege of freedom, let alone be leading the prosecution. I submitted a written petition to Lord Strongheart, requesting that the judgment of my transgressions be delayed by 1 day. You did what? In today's proceedings, I intend to expose everything. My whole life for the last 10 years has all been leading up to this one day. Kazuma, whatever the outcome of this trial, I give my word that I will accept whatever punishment is deemed appropriate, however severe. And I suggest you prepare yourself for the same, Reaper. Kazuma is bristling with hostility today. I get the distinct impression we're heading into very dangerous territory. Is that really even Kazuma-sama standing before us? As an extreme exception to normal practices, I have granted the prosecutor's request. The defense find this acceptable, I presume? No. Yes, my lord. In that case, in the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session again. We resume the closed hearing of Barak van Zieks. The defense is ready, my lord. The prosecution is more than ready. Very well, then. This preamble has taken long enough. Prosecutor Asogi, begin. As you wish, my lord. The prosecution calls the first witness to the stand. Bring Seishiro Jigoku into the courtroom. At last, then, we've reached the final battle. He's putting literally everything on the line now in order to get to the truth. Come on, Ryunosuke, it's time for that steely resolve, because this is going to test it to the limit. Witness, state your name and occupation for the court. Ha. So it was you who issued this, was it? You're Sapona? I did what it was necessary. Ha 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 ha. Well, look what the young man has become. Didn't think I'd see the day when you take that tone with me, I must say. The witness will ensure his responses are pertinent to the questions asked. My name is Seishiro Jigoku, a Supreme Court judge from the Empire of Japan. 16 years ago, this man came to London as a visiting student. 6 years later, he returned to Japan. As well as presiding over the Supreme Court, he is also currently Japan's Minister of Foreign Affairs. I am of course fully aware of Mr. Jigoku and his preeminent roles. I invited him personally to the International Forensic Science Symposium as a representative of his country. I hear he also played a key role in the conclusion of the Anglo-Japanese Treaty of Friendship and Navigation. It was a great honor to be invited in the negotiations. I put my all into that treaty. Judge Jigoku, I must ask. Well, I never. Fancy the young murdering student turned up here of all places. You acquitted me yourself. And now, I'm a practicing defense lawyer. Yes, and full of self-importance like your friend across the courtroom, I see. You came here to London by an invitation to the International Forensic Science Symposium, but then, without informing anyone of your plans, you took flight to France. Took flight? I'd have to object to that turn of phrase. Then explain yourself. What exactly were the circumstances? Well, I was somewhat expecting this, and I'm sorry to say... No. I decline to comment. What? Leaving the country prematurely was when I was an invited guest may be a questionable etiquette, but my decision is unrelated to the case. I can't be bound to testify. Unrelated, you say? I appreciate that a respected police inspector has been killed, for which I offer my condolences. However, being an alien, I obviously never met the man, nor do I know the first thing about him. As such, I am in no position to testify. It's as simple as that. So you would run from all this? I beg your pardon? This case is more far-reaching than the murder of Inspector Gregson. It has ties to another murder, a case that was tried in Japan almost a year ago now. A year ago in Japan? The murder of Dr. John H. Wilson, you mean? That's right. And you, Judge Jigoku, are at the heart of both cases. The defense has evidence to prove it. Well, Ryunosuke, I see from the look in your eyes that you're resolved to carry this through to the very end too. Let's see your evidence then. Captain Chips, are you here? What proof do you have that Seishiro was involved with the thing? Yo, I'm gonna need your help again. What's the evidence? Telegram, maybe?
Take that!
Okay, it's the telegram. This is a telegram detailing a communication sent between Britain and Japan approximately 1 year ago. The communications contain 4 names: K. Asogi, A. Shin, T. Gregson, and J. Wilson. You little... Where did you get that? In Tokyo. From your office, Judge Jigoku. What? How on earth did you... What's this all about? Why is my name on that list? The list of 4 names follows a certain pattern. T. Gregson and J. Wilson are the names of victims. Kiyosogi and A. Shin are the names of assassins. No. A year ago in Tokyo, Dr. John H. Wilson's life was taken in a Western-style restaurant in the capital. The culprit was found to be a visiting student who went by the name of Giselle Brett, but her real name was Asa Shin, a professional killer sent on a mission to kill from Great Britain. A. Shin and her victim, J. Wilson. And the murder that just took place here in London was the counterpart to that crime. An assassin sent from Japan, also a visiting student, Kazuma Asogi, whose victim was the British police inspector Tobias Gregson. K. Asogi and T. Gregson. One assassin from each country to kill a target residing in the other. What exactly is the defense suggesting? These 2 cases of murder, one that took place in Britain and one in Japan, were masterminded by a pair of individuals from each country as a form of assassin exchange, and the telegram the defense has acquired is proof of this international contract to kill. What? telegram was found in your office, Judge Jigoku. In other words, the mastermind in Japan was you. Judge Jigoku? What's this all about? And you, Kazuma, you lied. During yesterday's proceedings, you acknowledged that you'd accepted the assassination mission, but the mark wasn't Judge Jigoku at all. It was T. Gregson, Detective Inspector of Scotland Yard, as shown by the name on the killing contract. Very impressive, Ryunosuke. But actually, I didn't lie. The name of the target I was ordered to kill never passed my lips yesterday. The idea that Seishiro Jigoku was the mark came entirely from you. Oh! You deliberately avoided saying a name? The defense's claims these 4 names indicate some sort of international assassin exchange. I'm sure I speak for all present when I say that the very idea seems utterly absurd. Well, Mr. Jigoku, what do you have to say for yourself? His silence only goes to prove his guilt. There's another very important point that this new development brings to light. There's now a distinct possibility that the scene of Inspector Gregson's actual murder was in the witness's cabin aboard the SS Grouse. Judge Jigoku, you have to testify now. To refuse would put you in contempt of court. Ha 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 ha. There's no need for quite such a vicious stare, young man. Very well then. As a parting gift to you all, I'll tell you everything I know. It seems this Japanese gentleman has informed information that the court must hear about the alleged assassin exchange and the events of the night of the 31st of October. Present your formal testimony now. As you wish, my lord. Well, here we go. Get that guide ready. It's true that Kazuma Asogi was assigned the assassination mission 1 year ago now. The target was Inspector T. Gregson. That was a condition of the British study tour. However, in the end something happened that meant the young man was unable to carry out his mission. On the evening in question, a member of the crew was on duty outside my cabin at all times. If there had been a shot fired, the crewman would have heard it, so clearly that I can't be involved. So you admit it then, as this communication suggests. Whoa! Hey Zero! How you doing? Thank you for the raid! What's up? I hope you're doing good. Or I'll wait till the ads are done, and then you can say things. But what's up? There really was an assassination exchange arrangement between Britain and Japan. Hey, Stars, you missed the start of the stream. It's fine. You was betrayed? Oh, did you reach the part of the game where the betrayer was revealed? The one betrayer or the other betrayer? But yep, welcome. You're first. Good job. A political endeavor at the highest levels. Not something I can discuss here. To use such a worthy practice as a foreign study to coerce somebody to commit murder. It's the most appalling thing I've ever heard. Appalling? Well, it's easy to judge. Pardon? You knew it was Croy suspecting his daughter, didn't suspect the bracer dude? I know, right? You're gonna get a lot of that in the Trails games. People you thought were friends are actually unfriends. Well, now that you're at that part, I think you're nearing the end of your game. So that's exciting. Asogi had a reason for taking his sword to that British inspector, you know? What? Which is why he accepted the mission in the first place. Isn't that right, Counsel? Kazuma-sama? Judge Jigoku, if you are the mastermind behind this operation in Japan, then tell the court the identity of your counterpart in Britain. I'm not obliged to divulge that information. As I said yesterday, I've killed nobody. I freely admit that I accepted the mission, but on the night the plan was to be executed, I backed out. You've come to the conclusion that everyone in the League of Heroes franchises are evil. Does that mean Tita's evil? Turns out I'm the Ouroboros head. It's me, Tita. In short, this assassin exchange that the defense has identified as unrelated to the events of this case. But yeah, how are you today as well, Stars? You doing good? Except Tita. Not the Titsas. The crucial point is this. The police inspector can't have perished aboard that steamship in Dunkirk. Maybe she's the ultimate evil? Could be. The evil in cuteness. Because if he'd been shot in the cabin, it's inconceivable that a member of the crew wouldn't have heard it. That's right. Gregson was killed after returning to London in the room on Fresno Street. And the perpetrator of the crime was the Reaper, Barack Van Zeeks. The prosecution's accusation remains unchanged. To think that a seemingly innocent foreign exchange program was a facade for such malachippa dealings. Clearly it's a pot only a government minister and high-ranking judge such as the witness could hope to execute. Well, I seem to recall that it was someone on the British side who controlled everything. Be that as it may, it is not the place of this court to pursue this villainous assassin exchange plot. We are concerned only with the tangible events pertaining to the murder of Inspector Gregson. Is the defense clear on that point, counsel? Axel and Princess Joshua are probably evil too. Princess Joshua? What? Kia turned evil and she was cute. Kia turned evil. Everyone in Cold Steel, your next game is gonna be evil too. Woo! Yes, my lord, I'll keep in mind as I cross-examine the witness. It's true that Kazuma Asogi was assigned the assassination mission 1 year ago now. Is a 3-streak evil? Yeah, maybe. 3 could be seen as evil in some games, maybe?
Hold it!
A year ago, when Kazuma was still in Japan then. Correct. It was at the examination center for applicants for the study tour that I approached him. I'll never forget it. I remember exactly what you said. You just came out and asked me forthright if I'd consider traveling to Britain on an assassination mission. Surely not. I thought it was a joke at first, of course, but then it was made clear to me that if I didn't accept, I wouldn't be considered for the study tour. So, you agreed to it just for that? I mean, I know how much you wanted to study in England, but assassination? I know, right? The Empire of Japan has accepted a proposal for the British Empire at the time, an agreement to send a student from each country to the others to deepen cultural understanding and friendship. But behind the scenes, the chosen students were to be given assassination missions. It's like assassination is just a normal thing in this world here. Are there treasures in this game? The evidence. The evidence is the treasures, I suppose. As you can see, I have a lot of them. I had no choice but to accept the proposal that originated from my British counterpart. Why? Why didn't you expose the plot there then and there? Britain acknowledges no part in these alleged misbegotten dealings. I advise you not to make spurious allegations, Foreign Minister Jigoku. As a witness, I am bound to tell the truth, my lord. Anyway, I picked Asogi and explained the details of the plan to him. The target was Inspector T. Gregson. There was a condition of the British... That was the condition.
Hold it!
Just do it. Why Kazuma? Why did you pick him as the assassin? He was the most capable of all the applicants, and in addition, I knew his desire to travel to Britain was very strong. In fact, it was almost more than a desire. It was his whole purpose in life. Yes, as his best friend, I can certainly attest to that. The way he threw himself into his studies, the way he pursued becoming qualified as a lawyer. and was all ultimately for that one single goal of being accepted on a study tour to Britain. And of course, we know the reason behind that. He was determined to find out for himself the truth about his father, Genshin Asogi. There's nothing I wouldn't have done to get here. Be that agreeing to assume the role of an assassin, or betraying people's trust. Well, you certainly did a fine job of betraying mine, Asogi. But why was Inspector Gregson the target? I have no idea. They were the orders from Britain. I was in no position to question them. You have no idea? Really? I find that hard to believe. Oh, do you? Judge Jigoku was once a visiting student here in Britain himself, of course. Perhaps he had some connections with Inspector Gregson from that time. Defense really ought to catch up. With what? With the fact that the assassin exchange had absolutely nothing to do with the case under scrutiny here. Yes, I've now already admitted to recruiting Asogi. Would the judge be in trouble here for being part of an assassination thing? Would he be kind of in trouble at this point?
Hold it!
I presume you're referring to the incident that occurred during Kazuma's passage to Britain in January. That awful tragedy that took place on the steamship. Word arrived at the ministry some 2 weeks after the ship's departure from our shores. The visiting student has been killed, but his body had somehow gone missing in Hong Kong. The news was wired to me from a detective I placed on the ship to accompany the assassin.
I mean, they're talking openly about political assassination in court.
Pointedly a gray area. Then again, the public is not here, so maybe it's all secret or something. Obviously, Kazuma didn't actually die at all, but he did lose his memory, including all details about his special mission. Did you not consider dispatching another assassin at that point? That wasn't possible, simply because that black-clad young student over there had already put himself forward as Asogi's replacement, and there was no way to stop him from reaching Britain. My hands were completely tied, so Mr. Shum's strategy worked perfectly. He predicted everything that would happen. Months later, my memory returned, but I never intended to go through with the assassination mission anyway. So you were playing me right from the outset, were you? Is that it? I'd sooner be guilty of that crime than of taking someone else's life. I was prepared to do whatever I had to in order to get myself here to Britain. This line of questioning has gone on long enough. All the court should be concerned about is the testimony given by this witness, our details relating to his relationship with Inspector Gregson and the victim's murder. In that case, as I've already made perfectly clear, I had no connection as to the manner or his death, and you have some means of substantiating this plea. On the evening in question, a member of the crew was on duty outside my cabin at all times.
Hold it!
Outside your cabin is the first-class area of the SS Grouse, you mean? Yes, that's right. Not least because there was a murder of a student passenger earlier in the year, I imagine. The liner operates having taken to posting a crewman outside every first-class cabin door. I can confirm the presence of the crewman guard myself. What do you mean? Because I accompanied Inspector Gregson to Dunkirk that night. I witnessed it with my own eyes. There was a well-built crewman standing guard directly in front of the door to the witness's cabin. At that particular time, of course, I'd gone to the ship's dining room for dinner. The inspector and I asked the crewman to allow us into the cabin while we waited for Judge Jigoku's return. I suppose Inspector Gregson was there in his capacity as the Reaper. He was intending to take the witness's life. Exactly. As I've said numerous times now, I had no intention of killing anyone. So the crewman let 2 potential assassins into the cabin he was supposed to be guarding? Not the most convincing of centuries, really. In truth, those were my thoughts too. But anyway, I stayed to talk with Inspector Gregson for a short while. And then I left him there and made my way off the ship alone. Was the guard still at the door when you went? Yes, he glared at me as I walked past. You see, that proves it. Where are the cute girls? There's one next to me. She's hiding right now, but she's next to me.
Hold it!
That crewman who was standing directly outside your cabin door, you mean? That's right. A muscular man with a permanent grin expression on his face. He didn't once move from that spot. To be honest, I thought he was a miserable fellow. But as it happens, he's a vital witness now. There's no doubt that Gregson was killed by a gunshot, and it's inconceivable that a crewman standing just outside the cabin door wouldn't have heard that. So was he killed on... was Gregson killed on a boat or in that room? Now I'm like super confused. But wait, what about the ship's enormous steam engines? Here's your cute girl, Zero. There she is. The noise of them could have drowned out the sound of the gun being fired. Sadly, young judicial assistant, that won't wash. Oh! You'll recall that my cabin was in the first-class area of the ship, which is also, of course, the quietest. Don't imagine for a moment that it's anything like steerage where the judicial assistants go. I didn't mean... But a hole like that made by a bullet was found in your cabin, Judge Jigoku. That's compelling evidence that the gun was fired in there. What's that? A bullet hole? Oh yes, you're talking about what the detective uncovered in the wall yesterday, I presume. That was obviously a rotten panel eaten out by the woodworm. No doubt he didn't find an actual bullet. Ugh, that's the hole in this argument. Sadly, I was unable to arrange for the crewmen to be brought back to Britain with me. But obviously, if a gun had been fired in my cabin on the night in question as the defense implies, I would have been arrested on the spot and would never have made it to Britain in the first place. Very true. The witness's logic is sound, since no gunshot was heard from the witness's cabin on the night in question. We must assume that the witness is telling the truth. I'm glad you've seen the sense, my lord. Well, I need help, Captain Chips. I know Kazuma's already admitted to taking on this incredible assassination plot, but even so, hearing it confirmed by somebody else is still a real shock. It's unforgivable, using Kazuma-sama's feelings to manipulate him into agreeing to such a despicable plan. But I think Kazuma manipulated Judge Jigoku too. He completely double-crossed him. Oh dear, it's hard not to see as a stroke of brilliance on Kazuma-sama's part. One way or another, though, Gregson ended up dead. I really think that the murder must have happened aboard that steamship. So you mean Judge Jigoku must be lying? I know I shouldn't let my emotions cloud my judgment. But you must destroy him, Mr. Naruhodo. Alright, Captain Chips, which statement is the one we gotta present? We got 5 statements here. Which one is the one? 4 or 5 work? What? 4 or 5 work? Try that sentence again, Captain Chips, because that didn't make sense. I'm assuming you mean 4 or 5. I don't know what work came from, but... And, either statement 4 or statement 5 will work. Choose either of them. 5 to 4 work. And, which page has the evidence that I need? Yeah, I have no idea, guys. I am way past figuring out what's going on here. Page 3 on the right. One of these two. I doubt it's this. Autopsy, passport, trunk. Did you play all the Castlevania games or just the DS ones? I played the Game Boy Advance ones too. You're wrong? Alright. Oh man. Totally sorry, I think it's actually 4. Statement 4. let's save the game.
Counting these pages is weird. I haven't done the NES ones.
No. Page 4? So, to start over again, statement 5, page 4, right? And in the presenting. So it's one of these ones then? Wouldn't it make sense that it's this, so it's one of these three? Evacuation drill, maybe?
Objection!
I should do the NES ones? Yeah, no, I'm good. I know that you know that I would say that, so you know it's no. Yes, as the court has heard, there was a crewman posted outside Judge Jigoku's cabin. However, we can be sure that, contrary to the witness's claim, I do have those games, but I'm just gonna play them off stream. Never ever gonna stream them. That guard wasn't there at all times. What? I have here a notice of a particular event that was scheduled to take place aboard the steamship on the 31st. What? Where did you get that? It's evidence gathered by Mr. Herlock Sholmes. You were acquainted yesterday, if you remember. Herlock Sholmes again. According to this itinerary, after leaving the port of Dunkirk at exactly 10 p.m. and for a period of 20 minutes, all crewmen of the SS Groose were to gather and on deck for an evacuation drill. You have to stream everything? Not necessarily, Zero. Not necessarily. Dunkirk is a good movie. It wasn't my thing, but then again, I don't like war movies all that much. War movies are just not my thing. I'm sure it was good, not my kind of movie. All crewmen were away from their posts, and during the 20-minute interval, of course, any gunshots emanating from your cabin would have been heard by no one. In summary, Judge Jigoku, you had ample opportunity to commit the crime. Arg!
Objection!
A 20-minute window of opportunity. That's an excellent find, Ryunosuke, but it amounts to nothing. Why? Because the witness clearly stated in his testimony that no incident occurred in his cabin, unless you have some decisive evidence that can show his testimony to be false. Your accusation is nothing more than conjecture. Very true. Well, counsel. Inspector Gregson was killed in Judge Jigoku's cabin that night, I'm certain of it. Because the defendant has evidence to prove it. We'll present the evidence for the defense at once, counsel. What proof do you have that the victim's life was taken in Jigoku's cabin on the October place? So Gregson was not killed in that room then. He was killed on the boat, apparently. I'ma say this.
Take that!
Have you played the Neptunia games?
Nope. I do have one saved on my wish list, so maybe one day I'll stream one, but none as of now. Judge Jigoku, this was found in your cabin yesterday. What is that? The crown of a pocket watch? A pocket watch? If you will observe, the victim's pocket watch, which we know he treasured, is missing. It's precisely that part. It can't be. Moreover, this crown is a perfect fit on the spindle protruding from the victim's watch. Now, the fact that this was retrieved from Judge Jigoku's cabin tells us that the victim's watch almost certainly broke there. Grrr. In other words, the victim was killed on the 31st during the 20-minute evacuation drill, in the cabin occupied by you, Judge Jigoku. Well, you're razor sharp, aren't you, you young murderer?
Objection!
Expertly maneuvered, Ryunosuke. And your argument sounds entirely plausible. At first. But rather like this pocket watch, it's full of cracks. What? And I believe Judge Jigoku feels the same way. I was wrong to acquit you earlier in the year. Sorry? If I'd known that it would result in anyone having to listen to this drivel, I would have declared you guilty just to spare the world your ridiculous bombast. I think it's clear that the witness will have to give further testimony. When you hear what actually happened in my cabin that night, you'll notice the pitfall into which you've stumbled. Prior to your renewed testimony, I would like to clarify one point. The fact that this part of the victim's watch was discovered in your cabin means that you acknowledge he was there, I presume? Yes, I do. Very well then. You may proceed to give your formal testimony about what exactly happened in your cabin aboard the ship on the evening of the 31st October. Of course, as a man of the law, I have no intention of obstructing justice. Objections! Do you have an objection, Zero? I had a guest waiting for me when I returned to my cabin after finishing my evening meal in the dining room. When I walked through the door, a mustachioed Englishman was there, foolishly waving a gun at me. I soon took care of him with an ippon-sei throw, though he couldn't wait to run away after that. I imagine his watch was broken when I threw him over my shoulder. It has nothing to do with his murder. The inspector was clearly killed having returned to Britain because his body was found in London. Ippon-seio? A common jiu-jitsu martial arts technique in my country. I was careful not to use too much force, but the man obviously landed too heavily for his watch to take. So Ryunosuke Naruhodo, I imagine you can see the flaw in your logic now, can't you? What? The fact that the pocket watch was broken in the witness's cabin in no way proves that the victim's murder took place there. I've no doubt the inspector intended to kill me, but he didn't manage to pull that trigger. Yes, because he was merely the tactician, not the Reaper's hand of death. Well, the testimony appears to make perfect sense so far, as I can tell. Let me express my deep gratitude for your understanding, my lord. But if this testimony holds, Judge Jigoku will be deemed to have no involvement in the case. Well, counsel, I really see no reason for wasting precious court time here on a cross-examination. Smack! Sorry, my lord. The defense has a right to cross-examine, and I don't intend to squander that. You're an embarrassment to your countrymen, not knowing when you're beaten. In that case, proceed, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh boy. Oh boy. I had a guest waiting for me when I returned to my cabin after finishing my evening meal in the dining room.
Hold it!
Because the so-called guard posted at your cabin door had just let your killer pass, you mean? Apparently, Gregson told the crewman he was a police inspector, which was the truth, of course. He wouldn't have had his identification with him, though. He had his trench coat and mustache, not to mention the bag of chips. I imagine the crewman was convinced. But the man accompanying him would have had 2 swords slung around his waist. You mean me? Who else? Yes, that's true. You would have hoped for the sight of a few swords might have sent off alarm bells in the guard's head. The point is, I left the cabin before its occupant returned, and I immediately disembarked the ship. Certainly, all I can tell you is that only the inspector was waiting for me when I arrived back in my cabin. You had entered without any inkling of a suspicion? That's right, none whatsoever. When I walked through the door, a mustachioed Englishman was there, foolishly waving a gun at me.
Hold it!
Obviously, you're talking about Inspector Gregson. Yes, though at the time I didn't know the man's name, and there was no time for introductions. I value my life over manners. By which you mean that the inspector was there to assassinate you, I suppose? That was certainly the impression given by the gun pointing in my direction, but I've never seen the muzzle of a revolver shake about so much in all my life. Anyone would think the man had never shot somebody before. Believe it or not, most of us haven't. Anyway, there was no time to call for the help of the crewman at the door, so I dealt with the man myself. I soon took care of him with an Ippon Seoi throw, but we couldn't wait to run away after that.
Hold it!
Even though the man had a gun? That was a very brave move, wasn't it? Ha 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 ha. My Ippon Seoi is far faster than a bullet, I can assure you. But surely all that commotion caused the crewman to come in, didn't it? Yes, of course. He burst in immediately without knocking. The inspector hurled himself at the stocky fellow and just managed to slip past him to make his escape. The outstanding guard does it again. Luckily, there aren't many situations I can get out of using a quick Ippon Seoi throw. I imagine his watch was broken when I threw him over my shoulder. That has nothing to do with his murder.
Hold it!
The crow snapped off and the glass covering the face of the watch was cracked. Preferably to the man's head being pulled off or his spine cracking, wouldn't you say? Not that the man was spared for long. A bullet to the chest soon saw to that. But the point is, the broken pocket watch doesn't prove that a murder took place. Absolutely not. All the watch proves is my power of my jujutsu throw. Whatever you say, it doesn't quite ring true that no shot was fired in the cabin, because there was an obvious bullet hole in the wall. Ha 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 ha. What are you talking about? That's what the star of your lowbrow detective stories told you, isn't it? Well, I don't care for such fiction. Haven't you worked it out yet, you little stripling? No murder took place in my cabin. The inspector was clearly killed having returned to Britain because his body was found in London.
Hold it!
But there's no evidence that proves the victim ever returned to London alive. Just take a moment to think that idea of yours through now, stripling. What? If the inspector was killed on the steamship in France, how on earth could he have got back into Britain? When people die, their bodies remain at that same spot. It's a devil of a thing. Well, then, obviously the culprit must have moved the body. How exactly? Carrying a corpse off the ship in your arms would raise a few eyebrows at least, don't you think? Well, yes, that's true, but all passenger luggage is inspected with it when it is unloaded from arriving vessels, and I would like to think the border police would query the corpse of an English gentleman as hand luggage. If the murder had taken place aboard the ship, you would imagine the body would have been disposed of at sea. There would be no sense in risking being caught by attempting to transport the body back to Britain. That's killed that idea then. But perhaps not. Mr. Sato? We've heard that the first-class passengers were under constant scrutiny by the crewmen posted to guard them, which would mean that the culprit had no opportunity to dispose of the body in the sea. Yes, that's true. So transporting the body to Britain may have been the only viable alternative. Dear me, you really are new to this, aren't you? I thought I'd been perfectly clear, but it seems I'm going to have to explain it in words you can understand. I think I ought to alter my testimony with your consent, of course, my lord. I have no objection. State your amended testimony now. There's no possible way I could have transported the victim's corpse back to Britain.
Hold it!
There's an idea. Think about it, stripling. All passengers and crew disembarking at the same time and passed through the same checks at the border. The symposium guests were then driven straight to the hotel in carriages organized by the ministry. And we met you as soon as you arrived at the hotel. So you did. Well then, remind me, did I have a corpse over my shoulder at the time? What? No. So we're in agreement then. I couldn't possibly have brought the inspector's body back to Britain. Unless, of course, they developed some clever device these days to instantly move things from A to B. Funny you should say that. Professor Harebrain's invention didn't actually work, if you remember, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, of course. Defense has become unusually quiet, I noticed. Yes, because there's really nothing more to say. So that's his story. Well, I suppose if you think about it, whenever you drop a teacup in the office and it breaks, we don't say Mr. Naruhodo must have been murdered there, do we? Is that a veiled threat about what might happen to me if I break another one? And the fact is that Inspector Gregson's body was found in the little room in Freshno Street, If he really was killed in Judge Jigoku's cabin, the body would have been moved somehow, obviously. Transporting a dead body over a country border, that would be impossible for the majority of people, so there must have been some special circumstances that made it possible for the culprit then. There could be a vital realization, I think, Mr. Naruhodo. I'm gonna take a guess, guys, and if it's not that, then yeah. I'm gonna need, the help. It was carried in the big box. I don't have the big box as testimony, or as evidence. Here, maybe?
Objection!
Nope. Captain Chips, I need your help. Captain Chips, I need it. You pressed everything? Yep, every single thing. I got the new testimony, I pressed that, and, yeah, I got nothing. I thought it was the big box that was with, that we found that the judge was in, but it's not in the evidence. So, yeah. It's something else. Okay. Well, you know the rules. Everyone knows the rules. What page is it on? 1, 2, 3, 4. Everyone knows the rules. Everyone knows them. 3. On which side? Left or on left or right? On the left. Pocket watch, maybe?
Objection!
Nope. Cool. Oh man, I wish I knew. I wish I knew, but I don't know. We can see it there. Maybe it's this?
Objection!
Okay, cool. There's no possible way you could have moved Inspector Gregson's body, you say? I would say the opposite is true. And what's that supposed to mean? Far from being impossible for you to do, the transporting of Inspector Gregson's body back to Britain is something only you could do. What are you talking about, Ryunosuke? As well as being a judge, Mr. Jigoku is also Japan's Minister of Foreign Affairs, which means he's exempt from having his luggage searched when he enters the country. We learned that when we first met you upon your arrival in London. Well, all those passport checks and luggage searches at the border took a lot of time. I must say I'm very envious of your ministerial status. You didn't have to go through any of that, did you? Ah, I knew you were jealous. Ha 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 ha. I presume you recall this, Judge Jigoku? It's a photograph we took of the foyer of the hotel to mark the occasion. As the court will note, you have with you your large travel trunk. Large enough, in fact, to have a corpse inside. Mr. Naruhodo, surely you're not suggesting... I'm afraid I am, yes. 3 days ago, when we were chatting innocently with the new arrivals from Japan in the hotel, the body of Inspector Gregson was just meters away from us, inside Judge Jigoku's trunk. Welp. Order in the court. I'm skeptical, counsel, that the grown man's body could fit inside even the largest travel trunk. It could, because I happen to know that the witness himself, a man of considerable size, fits inside his trunk. And verifying that would be extremely simple, wouldn't it, Judge Jigoku? But inside his trunk? How horrifying! And after we'd spoken with you at the Great Waterloo Hotel, you had the opportunity to visit the apparent scene on Fresno Street, taking your trunk with you in a cab to deposit the inspector's body. I don't have to listen to this nonsense. Dr. Gory, the coroner who examined the body, has confirmed the possibility. She acknowledges that there are signs that steps may have been taken to disguise the true time of death. The onset of the body's decomposition could have been delayed by storing it in a refrigerator. Counsel, as I remember explaining yesterday, refrigerators of the requisite size are few and far between. Yes, I'm sure they are, but one place they certainly found is on large ocean liners. Such ships are equipped with electrical refrigerated cold rooms to keep food fresh on their long sea voyages. And yes, this cruise is no exception. Professor Mikatoba told me about it only yesterday. Well, Judge Jigoku? However much you prolong this debate, you can't eliminate the truth. All the evidence points to you being the killer. Ha 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 ha. Well, this is all very heartening. I can see that it was a wise move, letting Asogi and you embark on the study tour. What are you talking about now? Logical reasoning, of course. All court proceedings will be built on logical reasoning in the new century. And I can see that you've both laid firm foundations for that already. But Jigoku, please stop diverting attention from the issue at hand. The defense has made an accusation against you. How do you respond? Respond? There's really no need for me to respond, is there? Why ever not? Because before you can even begin to answer the question of when the victim was killed, you must first establish the one key fact. Where was the victim killed? It's quite logical. Drink. The actual scene of the crime. The prosecution's stance is unaltered. The killing took place on Fresno Street when the gunshot was heard. As the accused, Baron Van Zeeks shot the victim at point-blank range. Since no tangible evidence exists to disprove the prosecution's claim at this time, the defense's deductions amount to little more than an elaborate fairy tale. I'm afraid that's how logical reasoning the British are known for really works, young stripling. The victim was shot in that little room on Fresno Street and died instantly. I'm afraid it's the prosecution's claim that's the only fairy tale here. How can you say that? Quite simply, because the claim already directly contradicts a certain piece of evidence in our possession. Very tantalizing, counsel. I think you had better explain yourself to the court, don't you? The prosecution claims that Inspector Gregson died instantly when he was shot at the scene on Fresno Street. But this evidence clearly contradicts that claim. I have no idea. Can you tell me what page this one is on? Yep. Not an idea in the slightest on this one. I hope you are still here, because that would be a real bummer if you were not here. Kept second on the right. Okay, cool. Here, or here. Whoops. Oh, yeah, I can save. Alright. Well, as usual, no idea. I'll just go right to left.
Take that!
Okay. A photograph of the victim in this very location you claim he wasn't killed? Yes, but the point is the posture of the body itself. If Inspector Gregson had been shot there in that room, it's out of the question that his body would have been curled up in a ball like that. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but your logic is flawed. You could easily have adopted the foetal position due to the pain of the shot, which subsequently proved fatal.
Objection!
I'm sorry to disappoint you, Judge Jigoku, but it's your logic that is flawed. What? According to the autopsy report, the victim died instantly. He would have felt no pain, much less have been able to draw himself into that position. Ah! Which begs the question of why the victim's body is curled up in that way. though the answer should be abundantly clear by now. You're suggesting? The inspector's body took on that posture ahead of his arrival on Fresno Street, before it was coldly turned out on the floor. From the inside of a large travel trunk. No. You're quite right. The shape of the body looked exactly as it had been kept in a confined space. Judge Jigoku, present your trunk for examination. I believe it's very possible that it will contain traces of the victim's blood. Arg! Present my trunk? I refuse. What? On what grounds? It's private. Depending on how long he was in the travel trunk, his body might have started to settle into rigor mortis. And what is that again? Whatever that is, sure. Yes. I'm the Minister of Foreign Affairs from the Empire of Japan. I shouldn't have to put up with this treatment just because of some stripling's baseless accusations. In other words, Judge Jigoku, there's blood in your trunk. I decline to answer that. As the Minister of Foreign Affairs, I have privileges that allow me to... At this moment, you're not a government minister. You are a witness in the trial in Britain's highest court. I don't care who you are or what your status outside this courtroom might be. You will not withhold information. Nothing is more important than the truth. Ugh. Wag! Order in court. Well, Mr. Jigoku, what will it be? You can't be serious. You did it? Have you no shame at all, Kazuma Asogi? When people die, their bodies start to harden in place after a while. Like if someone's hands are clutched something when they die, after a few hours they have to break their fingers to remove what they're holding. That is interesting. That is very strange. Bodies are strange. How much the rigor has set in can be an indicator of how long a body has been dead. God. Someone would need to know what that even is to understand some cases. What? Very well, I admit it. I did bring the inspector's body into the country. Inside my trunk, exactly as postulated by the defense. What? You... Dear God, outrageous. So it was you. You admit to Inspector... No, I admit to nothing more than what I've said. Of killing the man, I certainly have no recollection. What on earth is that cryptic statement supposed to mean? That's what crime scene investigators and morticians need to be very well trained and educated. I gotcha. I merely disposed of the inspector's body, which was left in my cabin, in order to avoid unwanted attention. As the judicial assistant over there pointed out, I had no chance to throw it into the ocean. So, I decided my only option was to bring it into Britain with me, and dispose of it somewhere else. You just can't still deny it. If you didn't do it, then who on earth did kill the man? As you know, there was one other person in my cabin that night. He had the opportunity. And moreover, he already accepted a mission to take the inspector's life. Oh. That's right, who else could it have been? It was you, Kazuma Asogi. You. Oh boy. I never thought you'd stoop to this, Seishiro Jigoku. You've taken the words straight out of my mouth, Prosecutor Kazuma Asogi. You thought by leaving the body in my cabin you could pin the crime on me, did you? Well, the prosecution counsel has already admitted to visiting the witness's cabin on the night in question. Yes, on an assassination mission, no less. You wouldn't. So, what do you make of that, young stripling? You've heard my testimony now, and that's all I have to say on the matter. I'll admit to nothing more. I don't believe this. Counsel for the defense, what is your position now? The court awaits your response to the witness's assertion. The assertion that is on the night in question, the victim's assailant was in fact Mr. Kazuma Asogi. This isn't the dead end it seems to be. The answer's right in front of me. It comes down to Jigoku or Kazuma. Both of them had the opportunity to kill Gregson, but only one of them did it. And I'm just a step away from proving who. Very well. The defense is ready to respond to the assertions put forward by Judge Jigoku. The idea that the victim's murder could have been committed by Prosecutor Asogi is... I'm gonna assume impossible, right? Because we don't want Kazuma being the in-person. Impossible! It is impossible! Judge Jigoku, let me remind you of something you said only a few minutes ago. You claim that logical reasoning is the future of the judicial process. It is, no question. Well, logical reasoning can prove something here. Namely, that it would have been impossible for Prosecutor Asogi to commit the crime. What? The court will only accept an argument that is supported by compelling evidence. Present what you have, counsel. What proof is that the alleged demonstrates the impossibility of Prosecutor Asogi's involvement? And, again, no idea. Page 4. Alrighty. Sword, maybe?
Take that!
You're making the evidence weep here, Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Sorry? Every piece of evidence has a role to play in arriving at the truth. They're not playthings you can toss around the courtroom for entertainment. Alright, just making sure. Never mind the evidence, you're about to make me weep, Mr. Naruhodo. Well, it's Kazuma's sword, so maybe his sword is the one. I don't know. Don't know. The drill?
Take that!
This itinerary for crew members of the SS Grouse? My lord, this is conclusive proof. I don't know how, but it is. An itinerary? How does that prove anything? Judge Jigoku, the moment you acknowledge that you found the victim's body in your cabin, this itinerary suddenly became much more significant. What? Why? On the night in question, as always, a crewman sentry was on guard outside your cabin door. As long as he was there, nobody could have fired a shot inside the cabin. Absolutely, because it's inconceivable that the guard wouldn't have heard it and come to investigate. So that tells us that the crime must have taken place when the guard was elsewhere. And that narrows it down to the 20 minutes just after 10 o'clock, as indicated on the itinerary. Yes, I see no flaw in your reasoning so far. But the crucial point is this. When the evacuation drill took place, the steamship had already put to sea from the port of Dunkirk. Ah! Now, clearly the murder could only have been committed by somebody who was aboard the vessel at the time. The prosecutor Asogi stated in yesterday's proceedings, "I didn't come to Great Britain to take anyone's life, so I left Gregson and disembarked the ship. I spent the night in a boarding house in the town and returned to England the following morning." Which I'm sure the court will agree is conclusive proof that Kazuma Asogi couldn't possibly have carried out the killing. Gag! No, absolutely not. I don't accept this at all. What do you mean? The boy's just saying that to exonerate himself. We can't trust that he really disembarked the vessel. Obviously, after he left my cabin, he hid himself somewhere nearby on the ship. Just waiting for his chance to come back and finish the... No, that's out of the question. Isn't it, Kazuma? As the defense rightly recalls, I disembarked the vessel and spent the night in a boarding house in Dunkirk. And as I said yesterday, I signed my name in the accommodations register book. All extremely easy to verify, and undeniable proof. Ugh, no, There's no escape this time. You can forget that you're a judge or a government minister. It's time you gave the court an honest answer as a common man. Grrr. You killed Inspector Tobias Gregson and transported his corpse back to Britain. Then you dumped the body in the room on Fresno Street and made it look as if the murder had happened there. That's what really happened, isn't it? Seishiro Jigoku? It was that damn trial 10 years ago. That's when all this began. Looking back now, my fate was decided that day. I was doomed already. Oh boy. Arrgh! Oh. Oh boy. It's over. My life is over. Yeah, same for the bench. The bench's life is over too. The stand, rather. A British assassin to eliminate a professor in Japan. A Japanese assassin to eliminate a detective in Britain. Both assassins will use diplomatic immunity to evade conviction and return safely into their homelands. The assassin exchange request arrived from Britain about 1 year ago. Though it was hardly a request, it was a demand. And for that, you decided to recruit Mr. Asogi. But things didn't go according to plan. You chose an assassin never made it to Britain, and you found yourself unable to dispatch a replacement, because I was already on my way to Britain at the time, in Kazuma's place. And that left me with only one option for carrying out my obligation: to eliminate the mark myself, personally. Of course, there was but a single opportunity for me to do that. The International Forensic Science Symposium, I presume? That's right. I decided it would be safest to carry out the plan before my arrival in Britain, so I enlisted the help of my British counterpart, and they made arrangements for a pretext that would take the inspector to Dunkirk. To lure the man in, he was given a sham mission by the Reaper. What? The Reaper? But there's only one person who could have done that. The mastermind of the entire operation. The Reaper himself. Oh. So, that means that the assassin exchange was all planned by the Reaper. I'm not at liberty to say anything about my British counterpart. Anyway, the Inspectoress accepted the Reaper's mission and dutifully infiltrated my cabin on the steamship, but it was all a trap designed to lead him to France and his own death. Oh, how awful. It was past 9 o'clock when I returned to my cabin from the dining hall that evening. I didn't give him time to attack me. I choked him until he lost consciousness. But there was a guard just outside the door, so I left it at that for the time being. Even the slightest noise might have aroused suspicion, so I bided my time, waiting. For the 20 minutes after 10 o'clock. I had intended to finish him by strangulation, but moments before I had the chance, he suddenly came around and went for me in a reckless move. Bang! I received the British-issued gun 16 years earlier. Being a member of the judiciary as a visiting student, I never imagined that I'd have to use it for something like that. So the revolver belongs to you, does it? Then the victim was killed inside your cabin on the SS Grouse, which begs the question of why you arranged for his body to be discovered in the room on Fresno Street. Young judicial assistant over there has already answered that question. There was no way I could take the body up on deck to throw it over the side. That's precisely where all the crewmen were gathered for the evacuation drill, so before the first-class cabin sentries returned, I took the corpse to the refrigeration room. And then on arriving in Dover, you concealed the body in your trunk in order to smuggle it past the border police. I knew I needed to take steps if the police were to be convinced when the body was found in London. In that case, you must have known. You must have had the intimate details of Inspector Gregson's intended schedule. Yes, my British counterpart sent me everything I needed to know. The inspector was due at Fresno Street at 5 o'clock that afternoon, in order to meet a man by the name of Hugh Boone, from whom he would take back his police identification. I decided that man would be the perfect person to set up as the culprit. I took a hackney carriage over there with the body still in my trunk. That must have been just after we took this photograph with you at the hotel then. Yes, I wasn't expecting a welcoming committee. I was more than a little nervous. On Fresno Street, I spotted a young girl selling little firecrackers. Miss Venus, of course. I conceived of the candle trick there, and then... So I donned the simple disguise and approached the girl to buy enough firecrackers to replicate a gunshot. What sort of disguise? For some reason, the inspector had a bright red hairpiece in his own traveling case. I put that on, although I suspect I drew more attention to myself in that than I would have otherwise. The hairpiece we found at the scene. The inspector had it ready for the Red-Headed League investigation. I only arrived at the room at around 4:45. I quickly placed the body on the floor, moved the notice board, and set up my little candle trick. I arranged it so the firecrackers would go off with a bang around 15 minutes later, so that Mr. Boone, who was due to arrive in 5, would walk straight into a trap. Except, at the last moment, I made a careless blunder. What was that? I imagine it was the bag of fish and chips. Ah! I didn't notice that it had fallen out of his overcoat pocket when I moved the body to the refrigeration room. I put it back into his pocket the following morning, but... well, it seems the warmth of the heated cabin had accelerated the decay of the fish. Anyway, that's everything. All the sordid details of what I did. The freaking judge was the one. That is insane. I would never have thought of that when I played the first case of the first game. I've heard enough. You arrived at the truth about the murder of one of the country's most capable and respected police inspectors. The witness will be tried in the coming days. For a crime of such a vile nature, you can expect the most severe penalty. An exchange of assassins? What a foolhardy idea. Mr. Jigoku, one last detail. Who was your counterpart in Britain? Who was the mastermind behind the assassin exchange? Nothing you say now can make the matters any worse for you. Just tell us. Enough! I've already told you that I cannot say. Even though, as things stand, you may very well never set foot in your homeland again. What are you waiting for? Can we get this over with now? It's finished. All of it. I'm finished. Then, in the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I now pronounce the findings of this court. This man before us has admitted to the willful murder of Tobias Gregson. Okay, it's that guy that's guilty, not our guy. Seishiro Jigoku, it is the opinion of this court that you should be found guilty. And may I remind all those present of the strict confidentiality demanded by this closed court. How did those flames move on their own? So weird. Moments ago, Mr. Jigoku signed a written confession admitting to the murder of Inspector Gregson and the subsequent conveyance of the body. In short, the defendant's innocence has therefore been established beyond doubt. Oh, wonderful. Well done, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, thank you. Is something wrong? I'm just a little troubled by his silence. The true identity of the Reaper of the Bailey and this extraordinary assassin exchange, we do remain in the dark about these mysteries. However, insofar as the indictment against the defendant in this trial, we have reached a conclusion. I have every intention of pursuing both mysteries. As a prosecutor, as you wish. Now, for the formal adjudication, I hereby declare the defendant, Barak Van Zeeks,
Objection!
not guilty. The prosecution calls for adjudication to be deferred. Counsel? The accused's innocence has been fully established at all, or hasn't been, and therefore it would be wrong to deliver a verdict at this time. That is the prosecution's unwavering position. What? But Judge Jigoku has already confessed. Nevertheless, Barak Van Zeeks has committed crimes for which he must be punished. Well, it would appear you have information that the court needs to hear, Prosecutor Asogi. Certainly, the murder of Inspector Gregson was actually carried out by Seishiro Jigoku. But it's clear from the witness's testimony that he was coerced into complying with the plot, into this sick, merciless assassin exchange. That may be true, but... So what I want to know is, who coerced Jigoku? Who was pulling the strings? The victim went to France having been ordered on a mission for the Reaper, only to be murdered. In other words, the mastermind behind the assassin exchange is someone in a position to give such an order. As we've already established, the Reaper himself. Well, certainly, that would appear to follow. The prosecution hereby formally accuses the man in the dock, Barak Van Zeeks, of being the Reaper of the Bailey, and furthermore, I'm going to prove his guilt beyond all reasonable doubt. What? Hey, it's back, by the way. The witness stand is back. Order, order, order! The Reaper of the Bailey is a long-standing mystery, counsel. You suggesting that you have some new information with which to build a case? Scotland Yard has already investigated Lord Van Zeeks very thoroughly in that regard, and they found no evidence whatsoever to substantiate the claim that he is the Reaper. Perhaps, but circumstances have now changed. What do you mean? It's already been established that the assassin exchange was negotiated with Jigoku by the Reaper himself, which means we now have a new line of questioning by which to identify definitively the man's identity. That is the prosecution's intention here. I must say I'm surprised by quite how tenaciously you appear to want to besmirch my name. You are guilty of an unforgivable crime, Lord Van Zeeks.
Hey Bleach Fan! How you doing? Welcome to the stream. Exams are over, you can finally watch your streams completely. Woo!
I'm happy for you. Happy exam graduation. How you doing today, Bleach Fan? It's good to see ya. And I will bring you to justice for it, whatever it takes. Sorry if it took me a while to see your message, Bleach Fan. I was very into this game at the moment. That explains Kazuma's silence before. Good, you're doing good. Awesome. I'm good too. We're nearing the end of this game. They'll stop at nothing to finish what Lord Van Zeeks unwittingly started 10 years ago. Very well. Whilst it's extremely irregular, I will on this occasion grant the prosecution further opportunity for witness testimony. The defendant will disclose any and all involvement he has had with the Reaper and the assassination exchange. I thank you, my lord, for guiding the court so wisely. I hereby declare this court to be in session for a supplementary hearing. Cool. Pray turn a blind eye to the discourtesy as I verify that this vile and unrelenting accusation hasn't scoured the contents of my hallowed chalice. Lord Van Zeeks.
You scored 91 out of 100. That's pretty good. In science, 85 out of 100 in math.
Would you say that's good? Because I would say that's good, Bleach Fan. I'd say you're good to go. I first had to suffer the pseudonym of the Reaper 10 years ago now. And ever since that time, I've endured the weight of implied guilt that's gone with it. Smash. So I welcome the chance to testify now and crush those allegations once and for all. Good. Then let justice decide, Lord Van Zeeks. The prosecution seeks to begin building its case by calling the accused to the stand as a primary witness, in order that he may answer the accusation brought by the prosecution that he is the Reaper of the Bailey. And what says the defense? Putting the defendant in the witness stand can be extremely dangerous, and Kazuma-sama is so emotional at the moment, he's not thinking logically. Using marks studied for 1 hour, or maximum 2 hours. Well done. I bet you're glad that they're done forever, huh? You're right that he's not himself, but I knew it would be like this, and I came here today determined to face him through whatever might arise, as a lawyer and as his friend. Then that's what we must do. The defense has no objections, my lord. Very well. Defendant, you will take the witness stand, and give formal testimony on the subject of your involvement with the Reaper and the assassin exchange. As you wish, my lord. Okay. I've never taken the life of another, nor have I instructed another to kill. I've been investigating the truth behind the Reaper for years, and I was aware of Gregson's involvement. That's the reason I went to Freshno Street that day. Now I came to discover the body. The point is, no common thread exists between myself, Gregson, and Dr. Wilson. Clearly, therefore, there's no reason to just suspect me of being behind the assassin exchange. You're gonna enter high school. Ooh! I hope you like it. It's better than middle school, I'll say that much. So you deny all accusations by the prosecution, both that you are the Reaper of the Bailey, and that you masterminded the assassin exchange. I acknowledge that the public at large believe me to be the Reaper. However, that's a fallacy, which I alone am in a position to forswear. Naturally, the prosecution believes the testimony just given by the accused to be untrue. Ryunosuke Naruhodo? Yes? Let me ask you, why are you here? What really brings you to this courtroom? A desire to uncover the truth. Even if the truth proves your client to be guilty. From all my experiences in this courtroom, I've come to realize something. The truth can't be hidden. Sooner or later, it will come out. So it's always my intention to work with my client in pursuit of the truth. I want you to remember what you just said. Enough dilatory chatter. Counsel for the defense, proceed to cross-examine the witness. Ah, yes, my lord. I know exactly what you're thinking, Kazuma. I know you're just waiting to point it out. The contradiction you've convinced lies somewhere within this man's testimony. Whew. I've never taken the life of another, nor have I instructed it. So you're not what the general public referred to as the infamous Reaper of the Bailey? Exactly. Don't imagine for a moment that the court will be satisfied with a one-word answer on this. I realize that. If you're intending to comment on every sentence, this could take a while, Kazuma. Didn't you find it disturbing, though, that one by one defendants who had been acquitted after your unsuccessful prosecution were killed? Let me answer that question by posing another. If all one by one defendants who had been acquitted after your successful defense were killed, would you find that disturbing? Disturbing? I couldn't possibly say how that would make me feel with one word answer like that. Exactly. Well, that told me. But even though I'm not the Reaper, that doesn't mean I ignored all of the heresy. I've been investigating the truth behind the Reaper for years, and I was aware of Gregson's involvement.
Hold it!
You say for years. How long exactly? Since the very first time the Reaper's influence was felt in this courtroom, 10 years ago now. And your investigations led you somehow to Inspector Gregson, you're saying? I didn't want to believe it. He was a personal acquaintance. We'd worked on cases together in the past. A friend, even? It felt like a betrayal, but I demanded permission to search his office in the yard without his knowledge. Which is when you found his secret notebook, is it? It's when I first learnt of the location he noted only as gross, and the appointment at 5 p.m. on the 31st, though I didn't know the significance of those details at the time. So now we're at the nub of the matter. As it turns out, the significance for me personally was very unfortunate. That's the reason why I went to Fresh Nose Street that day, and how I came to discover the body.
Hold it!
But why did you go to that specific location? I thought that if it were the Reaper's headquarters, then by turning up there at 5 o'clock, I would catch whoever was involved red-handed. Sadly, all that was awaiting me was the inspector's corpse. Yes, even though it wasn't designed for you, you walked straight into the trap set by Jigoku. Exactly. Jigoku had intended to implicate Hugh Boone, but unhappily for me, I arrived at the scene first. Ha! A ridiculously careless blunder. Moved on to just throwing insults around, I see. Then, Kazuma? Think what you will. It doesn't change the truth. The point is, no common thread exists between myself, Gregson, and Wilson.
Hold it!
There is a link between you and Gregson, though. Of course, we were close acquaintances. We worked on numerous cases together. I consider the man to be a mentor of sorts. He taught me a number of important lessons. He did? Such as what? Where to buy good fish and chips, and such like. Well, that was convincing. Dr. Wilson was a coroner, of course, but that was some time in the past. In any case, I understand it was several years ago now that he was invited to work at a Japanese university. That's right, he was a visiting professor at the Imperial Yume University in Tokyo. It should be unambiguously clear then, that no link exists between myself and him. In other words, I had no motive for sending some assassin across the oceans to kill the man. It sounds plausible enough, and I want to believe it, but something about this just doesn't quite sit right with me. Clearly, therefore, there's no reason to suspect me of being behind the assassin exchange. Certainly, as it stands, there's no evidence to suggest that you concocted the scheme.
Objection!
But as it stands, we have only the accused's insistence of his innocence. Sorry? Perhaps there is some reason that would explain why he masterminded the assassin exchange, and if a reason could be established later in the proceedings, then the accused's claim in this testimony that he wasn't involved would be amount to perjury. Well, yes, that's true, but clearly Kazuma-sama intends to identify a reason and use it to make his case. If we don't identify something first, I'll gain the advantage. This could be dangerous. Captain Chips, I need your help again. I have no idea once again. A convincing testimony by Lord Van Zeeks. Certainly, with no apparent connection between the three men, there's no way to establish a motive. The testimony seems unassailable as far as I can see. Oh dear me, what a bleak expression. I agree, there doesn't appear to be any particular link between them at first glance. But with the inclusion of one other person... I must be overthinking it, surely. Another person, Mr. Naruhodo? Need to think back over all the information we've gathered so far. Alright, and I'll review my notes about the case and all the evidence in the court record. Could it be that Lord Van Zeeks has something to hide after all? Are you here, Captain Chips? Which one? Which one's the one? This one's interesting. It's interesting, but which one? For statement 4? Statement 4.
Hold it!
Okay. And while I'm loading it, which page is the evidence on? What page? What page? What page? page 3 on the right. So this one, this one, this one, or this one. I wish I knew what we were trying to prove here, or a common thread. I mainly wish I just remembered things.
Objection!
Nope. 3 choices left. I doubt it's the rabbit. That doesn't make sense in the slightest. So we have 2 left, technically. Passport?
Objection!
Nope. Which means it's the autopsy report or whatever. Right?
Objection!
Okay. Why is it the autopsy report now? What is this? An autopsy report? Wait, this is 10 years old. From the autopsy of Lord Clint Van Zeeks. What? My brother's autopsy report? I'm pleased to see the defense doesn't intend to run from the undeniable truth. Order in the court. What reason do you have for presenting a 10-year-old autopsy report here, counsel? This, the autopsy report of the professor's final victim, is an indelible link between Inspector Gregson and Dr. Wilson and the defendant. Not that accursed name again. The professor. I personally researched all of the court records relating to that case. I know that at the time autopsy was considered sacrilege to the victim's souls, and for the members of the aristocracy like Lord Clint Van Zeeks, it was unthinkable. But someone implored the powers that be to allow the autopsy to go ahead, Inspector Gregson. He declared that he was certain he would obtain conclusive proof from the procedure. And it was Dr. Wilson who conducted the autopsy. His signature is clearly visible on the document. As promised by Gregson, the autopsy did indeed produce evidence. Evidence that conclusively proves Genshin Asogi was guilty of the murders. In my brother's dying moments, he mustered all his remaining strength to leave that vital clue behind. Indeed, that was the key to indicating the professor for his crimes and the conclusive evidence that convicted him. It enabled Lord Van Zeeks to avenge his brother's senseless death with a marvelous victory in court. A marvelous victory, was it? I wonder if that's really true. What? Could the same be said if it turned out that the key piece of evidence in question was in fact fabricated? If the inspector, the coroner, and the prosecutor all concluded together to cast an innocent Japanese man as a mass murderer and send him to his death. That's outrageous. And now, 10 years later, for some reason the secret has been threatened and needs protecting, which is why the inspector and the coroner had to be silenced, isn't it? By someone in power in Japan and in Britain, but using the 2 killers recruited for the assassin exchange. Bang, bang. Order at once. 10 years ago, my father was convicted in this very courtroom as a mass murderer to be sentenced to death. But it was all a sham, and I swore to myself that I'd prove it, which is why I had to come to Britain. Whatever the cost. You'll have to forgive me if I feel compelled to toast this vengeful Nipponese's tenacity of purpose here. However, he who fails to quash his emotions in the courtroom has failed as a lawyer. Come on, Kazuma, you know this won't wash. You're claiming your father was misrepresented in a trial that took place a whole decade ago? You must see that without evidence, that's nothing more than a wild accusation. As it happens, I have evidence. What? As the court has heard, I crossed the channel to France with Gregson on the 31st. I went with him on the pretext of being the assassin recruited to kill Seishiro Jigoku. But my true intentions were to make the inspector tell me the truth. What truth? the truth about the evidence, and the acknowledge what I've already deduced. There's a closely guarded secret about what went on in the autopsy 10 years ago. What? A secret? I know nothing of any secret. While we waited for my supposed mark in Jigoku's cabin, I drew my clan's illustrious sword Karuma before the inspector's eyes. Very quickly understood what my true motive was. Right, I see. You're that Asogi's young lad, are you? And what? You're gonna cut me down with that thing? Is that it? That will very much depend on the answers you give to my questions. I want to know what really happened 10 years ago. The truth, that's all. Before we get into it, let me make this one thing clear. I still believe your father was the professor, there's no doubt in my mind. But unfortunately back then, we didn't have the evidence we needed to make the crime stick. So, you admit it then? The evidence used in my father's trial was fabricated? It was for the good of the country. Anyway, I was just following orders. Orders? What exactly did you do? Speak! I'm not saying another word. Even if your life depends on it? That's right. Even then. Shing! So that's when the tip of the sword broke. Oh, Kazuma-sama. If the results of Clint Van Zeek's autopsy were fabricated, then the investigating officer Gregson and the lead coroner Wilson must have known about it, and they can only have been ordered to pervert the course of justice in that way by one man. The man leading the case for the prosecution, Barak Van Zeeks. In other words, the defendant did have cause to organize this exchange of assassins. Exactly, and as was established earlier, it has to have been the Reaper himself who liaised with Jigoku in Japan to arrange the exchange. Oh. So it follows that the Reaper's true identity can only be that of the man who stands accused in this courtroom today, Barak Van Zeeks. Oh dear.
Objection!
Kazuma Asogi. What? What you've just told the court? Are you absolutely certain of your facts? Did Gregson really fabricate evidence for the trial 10 years ago? I heard it with my own ears. His shameful admission. In that case, I know the name of the Reaper. What? What? Lord Van Zeeks? I gave no such orders. I know that for certain. Which narrows down the remaining possibilities to one. If Lord Van Zeeks isn't the one behind all this, then yes, there is only one other person who could have done something like that. I believe I know who it is too. You? I just had a feeling this name was going to come up. The true identity of the infamous Reaper of the Bailey is... I'm gonna take one guess, and if it's wrong, then I'll leave it to Captain Chips to help me again. It's Iris, right? Is it Iris, Captain Chips? I think I got her. I mean, she never existed 10 years ago, but it's her. It's the only thing that makes sense right now. And it's definitely not, this guy.
Take that!
The only person who could have arranged the assassin exchange and manipulated the autopsy results is the Lord Chief Justice himself, Lord Mal Strongheart. What? Lord Strongheart? I had a feeling. Yes, it's true that 10 years ago the defendant handled the prosecution of the professor in court, but he only took the case after his brother Lord Clint Van Zeeks has been killed. I can only assume that this is the most inappropriate joke in British judicial history. Well, Lord Van Zeeks? 10 years ago, I was very new to my profession, but I had a burning desire to avenge my brother's death, so I pleaded for control of the case. The investigation to that point, the supplication of the lords to allow my brother's corpse to be examined, all the evidence I was given, the autopsy reports, it all came from you. I've spent my life since then believing I was in your debt for the way you stood aside and let me handle the trial. But I see now, I was very much mistaken. It was a hugely influential force that caused the inspector and the coroner to break the law 10 years ago. And that same force was still felt a decade later on the other side of the world by Seishiro Jigoku. Lord Strongheart, everything falls into place when we recognize that you are the Reaper of the Bailey. The court awaits your response, my lord. This may very well go down in British judicial history, but I assure you, it is no joke. Consider this a formal accusal by the defense. It doesn't warrant a response. A formal accusal? Don't be absurd. The defense's claims are utter nonsense, a wild fantasy at best. You're not going to defend yourself? You claim there was some wrongdoing with Lord Clint Van Zeeks' autopsy. That's utterly untrue.
Objection!
But I heard it from Gregson's own lips. He admitted to it. And where is your evidence? What? Gregson's dead now, unless you were thinking of summoning a ghost to the stand. You mean to say? I forget how the system works in your little backwater country, but in the courts of the British Empire, without evidence, there is no case. I have no intention of entertaining some wild fantasy that can't possibly be substantiated by anyone or anything. Arrgh! Order in court. Following Inspector Gregson's murder and in the light of Dr. Wilson's death as well, there's really no one left who could testify about the events of 10 years ago, is there? So that was the real purpose of the assassin exchange? The court has no business raking over the coals of a case that was concluded a decade ago. The accusal brought by the prosecution and the defense is categorically denied. I take it there are no objections. Kazuma, he's more or less waiting his whole life for this moment.
Hey, Astro Dude. Oh, Maya's great-grandmother?
But we can summon Maya's great-grandmother,
Wherever she is.
Is there really nothing else we can do now? Is there no other avenue we can go down in pursuit of the truth about what happened all those years ago?
But yeah, how are you, Astro Dude?
It's good to see you here. If only there was someone who could testify about Clint Van Zeeks' autopsy.
Summoning the present matriarch of the Fae would have been amazing.
It would have. Oh, that would have brought so many things together.
I'm assuming there's someone, right?
He's gone to extraordinary lengths to cover his tracks, so even so far as dispatching an assassin all the way to Japan to ensure Dr. Wilson's silence. And Dr. Scythe won't say anything unless against Strongheart. But there's still one ray of hope.
Objection!
Actually, there is one person. One person who could still testify about that autopsy. Don't be ridiculous. There is no one left. Who, Ryunosuke? Who? Tell me. Kazuma, Please, this trial can't end. Not yet. I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it for the truth. The person the defense would like to call to the stand to testify about the autopsy of Lord blah 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 is... no idea. No idea, guys. Is it on the first page, the second page here, or the third page?
I doubt you remember this bit, but you're not going to because it was last week somewhere. It's Susato's father.
I said clues, not tell me what it is. No telling it outright.
Because he's the one who wrote the report a decade ago. Susato recognized it a while ago.
Still let me guess, though, at least.
Take that!
But thank you.
Read each description. Read each description. A medical school professor at the Imperial Yuma University, authority in forensics medicine, and Miss Susato's father. Doesn't tell me anything, really. That he was the one that did an autopsy thing or something.
Or rather, the autopsies.
Oh, well, it's too late for that now. Heaven help us, another Japanese. An expert in forensic medicine, my lord, Professor Yujin Mikatoba. 16 years ago, he came to London with Seishiro Jigoku and Genshin Asogi as a visiting student. And what could his testimony possibly tell us? Professor Mikatoba was the primary assistant during the autopsy in question. He was also the person who actually penned the report. Incorrect. The autopsy was carried out by the coroner, Dr. Wilson. The report carried a signature. It was the primary assistant's duty to keep a written record of the coroner's work during the procedure. In actual fact, the coroner merely read over the report at the end and signed it. In other words, Professor Mikatoba witnessed the entire autopsy from start to finish. Gross. The defense demands that Professor Mikatoba be summoned as a witness as a matter of urgency. Whatever really happened in that autopsy laboratory 10 years ago is something only he can tell us. No. The defense's demand is denied. What? But Professor Mikatoba is in London at this very moment. We could summon him to the stand in minutes. No, of course he's not going to agree to it. Strongheart has no intention of summoning anyone who knows. He's too concerned about protecting himself. Prosecutor Asogi, let me refresh your memory, as you seem to have forgotten the prosecutor's stance. Only minutes ago, you accused the defendant of being the Reaper and of masterminding the assassin exchange. I did, yes. So present your evidence for those claims, and make your case complete. At this time, I don't have the requisite evidence, but that's exactly why we need witness testimony. The professor's case is closed. There are no clues in the distant past that will bolster your argument today. I'm afraid to say, Prosecutor Asogi, that you would appear to be possessed by the spirit of your late homicidal father. Now, as I stated earlier, this court has already reached a conclusion with respect to the matter at hand. Inspector Gregson was murdered by Japanese Supreme Court Judge Seishiro Jigoku. As for any hidden circumstances that may exist, they will be investigated in due course by the proper authorities.
Objection!
But we all know what will happen. That'll just give the mastermind of the whole venture time to cover his tracks again. By which you mean me? Yes, you. Your punishment for this contemptible behavior will be decided at a later date. As for you, Prosecutor Asogi, you will be remanded following these proceedings. Willingly, I trust, since you gave your word. Arg! This futile game of revenge is over. Young Master Asogi. Grrr. Warg. Welp. That will be all. I hereby declare this trial to be over. Court is... Hold it. Aha. Always Sholmes to the rescue. But, Mr. Sholmes? This is no place for amateur detection, Mr. Sholmes. May I remind you that these proceedings are closed to the general public. You will leave the courtroom at once.
Objection!
Mr. Sholmes was instrumental in the apprehension of Seishiro Jigoku before he fled from Europe. The court should hear what he has to say. Lord Male Strongheart, it's imperative that you refrain from bringing this trial to an end at this stage. Is it really? And why would that be? You need only recall your own words from the opening of the trial to answer that question, if I may. We will stop at nothing to uncover the whole truth behind these disturbing findings. Surely it can't be that the shock of being accused of being the Reaper yourself has erased that from your memory, can it? The whole truth, sir, has already been uncovered. It would seem that we have a great many important members of the judiciary present here today. I put it to you, my dear fellows, should the trial end at this juncture? After all, why have you been invited to attend? To nod along to the prevarications of your superiors? Order in court. It seems to me that we stand before a door that leads to a new era of legal practices, a door that is ajar. Let us emerge from the shadows of the Reaper's decade-long ascendancy. For you and you alone, my dear fellows, have the power to push this door open now. The auditors in the gallery have no rights to express an opinion on court proceedings. Silence! He's right. The judge has absolute authority here. Yes, if he calls the trial to an end, it must end. But will that really do? I sense dark things occurring behind the scenes. Dark things indeed. Is there a single person here present who can honestly say that he doesn't do the same? What? Trial should go on. Summon the witness. That's right, we need to clear this up before that young Japanese fellow is reprimanded. Sholmes the goat. Oh yeah, Sholmes saved our butts just now. My lord, you're assured those present that you would uncover the whole truth here. Vindicate yourself of the outlandish accusation. The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. That's the very foundation of British law. A toast to my dependable colleagues in the gallery. Testify. Well, my lord, you hear the voice of British justice, I take it. I think you'll find it will be rather awkward to silence. The court will recess briefly. I have no intention of shrinking from these allegations. Bailiff, arrange for the subpoena of the witness at once. As soon as the gentleman arrives in the courthouse, we shall reconvene. A recess won't be necessary, my lord. Pardon? Ikatoba is a close friend of mine. He accompanied me today and is waiting in the antechamber as we speak. I do believe he's been enjoying a little trip down memory lane, in fact. What? Professor Mikatoba is here in the courthouse? Mr. Sholmes, you didn't know this would happen, did you? My dear fellow, no one is in a better position to answer that question than you, surely. I wasn't just asking for the fun of it, you know. Well, hey Eminem, thank you for subscribing at this random time. I appreciate ya. Stars are celebrating too with Goat. But thanks, Eminem, for 4 months now. Awesome. I appreciate your continued patronage and continue to enjoy those emotes of mine, alright? Thank you. I must thank you for your assistance in this matter, Mr. Sholmes. However, you are of no further use here. Kindly leave the courtroom at once. But of course, in truth, I find myself rather busy now as a result of these developments. Mr. Naruhodo. Yes? I trust you have Iris's little lucky charm with you. Absolutely, it's still in my pocket. She sends her regards and a reminder. If you find yourself at a dead end, the ears are at your disposal. Just one tug, if you please. Oh, of course. In that case, the trial will continue without delay. Bailiff, show the witness to the stand. So it's Lord Strongheart. He is the Reaper of the Bailey. Where exactly is this trial going to take me, I wonder? Just how deep am I about to be plunged into the blackness of the abyss? Well, I'm ready. I'm ready to head into the heart of this maelstrom and confront whatever horrors it tries to drown me under. Oh my gosh.
Mikotoba is so lucky that Strongheart made the same mistake as Iris. Made the same mistake as Iris about Clint's autopsy report's handwriting. Iris took it before the assassin exchange so he could check it again.
When did she do this? God, my memory of when that happened is super bad. But Mikotoba's lucky. Hey, what's she doing here?
She took it 2 years ago.
Was that ever said in this game at all? And if so, when was it said? So witness, please state your name and occupation for the court. Yujin Mikotoba, lecturer in the forensics medicine at the Imperial Unime University in Tokyo, Japan. And, Professor Mikotoba, the young lady beside you is... Ah, this is Dr. Maria Gori, Scotland Yard's practicing coroner, the daughter of Dr. Scythe, I understand.
Yes, Dr. Scythe?
Yes, Dr. Scythe. Thanks again, Minim. Enjoy, the emotes. I'm afraid I can't tell you why she's here. She just appeared.
Bye now.
Bye! See you tomorrow, Minim. Hopefully soon. You summoned this strange Japanese man as a witness to that autopsy. But you don't summon Mama. That makes no sense. She was there too. That's about the size of it. I've had her eyes boring into the side of my cheek constantly while I was in the antechamber too. Poor man, the idea of it's making me shudder. The revelations about Dr. Scythe that came to light some days ago defiled the reputation of the entire judiciary. She was therefore deemed unfit to appear as a witness in today's proceedings. The Ministry of Justice decision on that is final. Well, we wouldn't want any more perjury to be committed, would we? The Ministry of Justice. Some questionable strings are being pulled, I think. I remember you, Dr. Mikotoba, but I certainly never expected to be meeting you under these circumstances. Yes, it's been a long while, Lord Strongheart. The prosecution understands that you were a visiting student of forensic science in London until 10 years ago. That's right, I studied under Dr. Wilson at St. Signers. So you were present at the autopsy of my brother, Lord Clint Van Zeeks? I was, yes. I assisted Dr. Wilson with the entire procedure. Tisk, Mama is far more skilled than any Japanese man. Well, Dr. Wilson may have asked me to be his primary assistant on that occasion. And this autopsy report was actually penned by you, I believe. Yes, I noted all of the doctor's findings, and when we were done, he read through the document and signed it. Poor Mama. As secondary assistant, she wouldn't have had such a good view of all the innards. So, Professor, do you remember Inspector Gregson? Yes, of course. If it wasn't for his insistence, Lord Van Zeek's autopsy would never have happened. But he was absolutely convinced that it would reveal decisive evidence against Genshin, you see? So Lord Strongheart had to entreat the nobility to allow it to take place. Do correct me if I'm wrong, my lord. It was as a result of that autopsy that a mass murderer was apprehended and justice was done. But Gregson admitted it before he was killed. He admitted that the results of the autopsy were fabricated. You were there at the time, so you must testify. You have an obligation to tell the truth about what really went on. Absolutely. That's precisely why I'm here. And that's why I'm here too. Very well then. You will give your formal testimony now, witness. But before you begin, a word of warning. Oh? You will state truthfully and accurately what you saw and what you heard at the time. I wouldn't dream of doing otherwise, my lord. The moment your testimony verges on supposition, I will expel you from my courtroom. Remember that. Okay. Here we go. From my own observations, I couldn't say there were any indication of the autopsy results having been fabricated. Death resulted from a wound made by a Western-style sword transfixing the heart that I found a little strange. There were no other signs of internal injury, nothing questionable at all. It was just that beautiful but dangerous piece of evidence that removed from the man's stomach. Presumed to have been swallowed by the victim as a way of identifying his assailant. No indication? Nothing to suggest fabrication? Professor Mikatoba, are you certain about that? Well, nothing that I could positively identify as such, much less swear in to testify. Ag! Well, that clears things up nicely. The only fabrication here, Asogi, has come from you. What? You claimed that the inspector confessed just before his death, but that is the fabrication. No, he's freely acknowledged it. I swear he did. Freely, with the tip of a sword at his throat, the man was clearly at his wit's end. The court will give no credence to this confession that was uttered in obvious desperation. Quite simply, there was nothing unquestionable about the investigation of Lord Clint Van Zeeks' death. And with this testimony we have, without question, uncovered the whole truth of the matter. If I may, my lord. There was most certainly something questionable about it, and the whole truth does rather elude us, I feel. I beg your pardon? Well, you're obviously aware of the facts of this case. All 4 of the professor's previous victims died when an enormous beast was set upon them that ripped out their throats. Oh, such horrifying crimes! But curiously, the killer's last victim, Lord Clint Van Zeeks, suffered a different fate. Yes, you're right. He was stabbed through the heart with a sword. That's enough. I believe I warned you about this, witness. I promised to curtail your testimony as soon as it entered the realms of supposition or speculation. Very well, my lord. In that case, the defense will pursue a conclusion to this during a cross-examination. What? I have the right to cross-examine every witness after testimony, and I fully intend to exercise that right. Ryunosuke, I'm afraid that even the presiding judge has no authority to contravene the letter of the law, as I'm sure every member of the judiciary present in the gallery would agree. Very well. You may begin, counsel. However, the moment your argument strays from the established facts, I will not hesitate to bring the cross-examination to an end. Proceed with caution. Yes, my lord. I'ma save it just in case things go wrong. Just in case he says that's not accurate or something. This cross-examination's over.
Hold it!
You couldn't say? No, sadly not. But then you couldn't say there wasn't any indication either, could you? No, true, I couldn't. I was at Dr. Wilson's side as he performed the procedure, recording what he did. But at times, of course, he instructed me to fetch implements and such like. Whilst I was away from the operating table, obviously I could have missed something. And at those times, where was the secondary assistant doing? Following the Japanese man's orders to adjust the lighting or pass him implements. But that doesn't mean Mama wasn't a vital part of the team. Quite, yes. So would you kindly refrain from staring at my cheek like that? Professor Mikatoba, think, was there nothing at all that seemed out of place to you? Well, yes, there was, as a matter of fact. Death resulted from a wound made from a Western-style sword transfixed the heart, and I found a little strange. Whoops! Alright, one more.
Hold it!
In all of the previous 4 killings attributed to the professor, the victim was killed by an enormous dog, I believe. Their throats were, well, mauled. Correct. And yet Lord Van Zeeks was stabbed. Do you mean to say... Do you think Lord Clint Van Zeeks may not have in fact been one of the professor's victims? There is no basis on which to doubt the findings of the investigations carried out at the time, but Genshin Asogi confessed to all of his crimes upon his arrest. He admitted to having taken the lives of all 5 members of the aristocracy. Arg! Yet the beast that was used to carry out the killings was never identified. No evidence was found to suggest that Genshin had ever kept a dog. A true hound of hell. Well, guys, I'm looking at the time. Maybe tomorrow will be the day we finish this game. Maybe. But thanks for stopping by, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed. Thanks for all the help, people that helped. Meaning Astro Dude and, Captain Chips. See you all tomorrow for more Lunar. So yeah, take care. See you later. Bye!